Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Ceremonial Witchcraft. And first and foremost, I don't know if anybody goes to my YouTube page who listens to this, or if it's just random, or how it works out for you. But, well, I guess first of all, thank you. I really appreciate everybody checking this out, and anybody who's gone to my website, ceremonialwitchcraft.com, which I just added some new pictures from the book, The Great Work of Self-Transformation, Kabbalah. Some more important pictures. Well, I think I just added checklists on there today. But anyways, I have the checklists for all the grades I put on that I played over the year so far. I've got the exercises, a tree of life diagram that you're supposed to label, and various things. I'm busy. Various things. Savannah, no. Give me a minute. And sorry about that, kids. I'm playing with them all morning in between trying to get my show ready and ask them for a few minutes, and they continue to keep trying to get more and more and more. But anyways, that's what they do. They love me and they just want to spend time with me, and I understand that. So it is what it is. Oh, they're actually asking for food, but anyways. I put various things on my website. Actually, I think I put a link to a book on that website today, the Hermetica, because when I'm about to play, a person says the Bible got most of his inspiration from that book. So I'm like, hey, I got that book. So I posted that on there. And speaking of postings, or links, to books, the episode I put on last night, I initially said I was going to come on at sometime between 7 and 8. And the reason I don't like doing that and why I don't have a posted time or a set schedule to do this is because, my other life actually is supposed to come first. And all I mean by that is it's very hard for me to stick to a schedule. But I did try to. Actually, it was about 9 o'clock when I was trying to go on. Maybe a little bit before that. And nothing was going right. Nothing was working once again. And I recently just went through issues like that, having to reformat my computer. I actually put an apology video on my YouTube channel and a link to the episode of last night. And the only reason for that is because the episode last night was so shitty. I was supposed to come live and talk about the Enochian tablets, Watchtower, and Watchers. I wanted to use polarity. I wanted to talk about how you can use polarity in your advantage when you're depolarized, just when dealing with people, circumstance, even in romantic settings. And then I was going to talk about manifestation, how using different polarities can help you. Sometimes using the opposite polarity of the moon can have great benefits. Sometimes when you add, if someone's in a positive polarity and you add a negative polarity, you bring them to neutrality. And you can kind of use that concept in magic as well. So that's something I'm going to be talking about in a future episode, hopefully soon. But the stuff I am going to be putting on today is not the stuff I usually talk about. It is going to be Santos Bonacci once again, and a man named Mark Hollywood. And I'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, my episode was very shitty last night. When I was playing the book, I put the book on because the Wi-Fi kept cutting out. The speaker app wasn't showing my levels. But when I tested it, it was recording. The timer wasn't going. Various things. And whenever playing the audiobook, it was cutting out so much. I had time in 5 to 7 minutes in the beginning that had no just dead air. It was brutal. Sitting there trying to do everything I can, and it's just constantly doing that spitting thing, which is basically telling you can't use the mouse pointer. Wait, it's doing something, and it was just doing that forever, and nothing was working. And then I had to shut down the computer, turn it back on, same thing. It was brutal. So it ended up splitting the episodes as well. So there's like a 30-minute one, and then the rest of the time. And during the book, it being very sketchy, almost like fucking the Siri voice, Siri voice, whoever it is, was like stuttering. So it drove me absolutely nuts. And then it closed my iBooks and completely went down. So this is what's been happening the last few days. Every time I go to try to put on episodes or different episodes to try to just go live and different things like that, I've been having a lot of, I don't want to call it opposition, but just a lot of issues. I reformatted my computer. I took all my stuff off. I reformatted my computer, which is why I've been playing a lot of people. I was supposed to come on and talk a few times after the Edward Casey thing, and I wasn't able to because of this. So many things continue to happen. And meanwhile, this whole time, I've been being drawn, led, kept trying to go to Santos Bonacci kept coming up, intuition, synchronicity, different things like that, and things in my life pointing at the same fucking thing happening over and over again, and it was all surrounded around money, kind of fear-based media stuff, which I don't like to promote or put on here because I know it's important for the beginning, but I don't want anybody to focus on that stuff, dwell on that stuff, or put anything fear-based too much out. I do talk about certain things and try to give you my perspective on why I think churches, governments, elites do certain things and why you shouldn't do it, but also give you the benefits of why they do it. So I don't like to focus on that. But anyways, that was the clip I found yesterday. I just picked a random clip from a specific pile that I've pre-recorded for episodes, and I didn't even think I picked that one. I thought I picked a different one, but that was the one I played, so I went with it, which he did have some good information on there. There's actually a second half to that Salt's Elixir of Life one, but it's very important information. It all ties into the healing stuff. I don't know if it was that one or the second one, but I know he talks about pH, having a high alkaline diet, which I also already talked about. I told you how important salts are, and magic salts are huge. Everybody knows, power of water and salt and shit like that. So, anyways, the point I guess I'm trying to hit home is because it was so shitty, I went on today and I added a bunch of links to it, which I'm going to do with this episode as well, as soon as it goes live, because I can't copy and paste links when I hit the live button on Spreaker itself in the description box. That's why initially I was never putting links up. Someone also asked if I could do that via email. And I was going to try. And I figured out that once I start recording, if I go into the speaker, my options or whatever, on the site itself and not through the recording app, I can actually copy and paste a hell of a lot easier there and a lot faster. So I put 3 books I've already went over. Jason Miller's Protection and Reversal Magic. I think Adversal is also in there. I put on Jason Miller's Financial Sorcery and Jason Miller's Sorcerer's Secrets. I found links for all of those. Now, some of them, I think when you push on it, will automatically, for my Mac anyways, I tested them all. And I got like 4 copies of the same books 4 times over again. But I think 2 of them give you the download automatically, and Protection Magic brings you to the site, and then you have to hit the download link. And there's a 4th one on there, and I don't know if you already watched my video or went on my website, but I have a post about it. I have a video about it on YouTube, and like I said, that's my apology. But the 4th one is a book I never even read that he released, Jason Miller, in 2017, and I found it just by chance this morning. I wasn't even looking for it. It just popped up, so I'm like, holy fuck, thank you. To me, that's like finding money. I fucking love books. And I'm going to have to find another book that's mentioned here about the alphabet, decoding words and stuff like that, so I'll explain that later if I have time. But anyways, it's called, what the fuck is it called now? I can't remember it. It's Jason Miller's new book, and I was so stoked. Wrote it down, said it in my apology. I said it on my website's version of the apology, and now I can't fucking remember it. Unbelievable. But anyways, it's his new book. It's about something about elemental magic. But anyways, I haven't even read this book yet. I found the PDF, and this is, I believe, it automatically downloads. I'm just trying to see if I can find the title here for you. But anyways, this one is one of the ones that automatically download anyways. So, so there's 4 books, 4 links there for you. And this is due to, I feel bad. I feel bad about the fact that it was such a shitty fucking episode. I feel bad that, it's not working out for me. Sorry. I felt bad if anybody went on to listen, because like I was supposed to do 1 episode, I didn't do it. And then the episode I did do cut out like crazy, 2 fucking huge gaps of no air, or dead air, sorry. And then I switched out, put Santos on there, and no talking, no nothing. So it's like, man, that was brutal. And I felt, time is the most valuable commodity. It's the most valuable fucking currency, Your time is valuable. So sit there. I went to the courthouse the other day because I have fines. I told everybody I have a $25,000 fine that a $25,000 fine that I got when I was doing the smoke thing, and I pay $50 a month, and I got to keep that going. And with all this banking crap I was going through, it automatically comes out, and that's something I forgot to, so they sent me a letter in the mail saying, you gotta come resolve this or else you get kicked out of the program, blah, 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 blah. And when I went down there was a big lineup, and then I was the next one in line finally after waiting a while, and a lawyer just came out of the courtroom, and he comes behind me, and he's moving around, he's trying to get the girl's attention, and you can see because all he wanted to do was drop off a paper, and all I had to do was ask to go speak to the lady named Rita, he actually finally turns to me when we made eye contact. He's like, do you mind if I just go ahead of you? You know, I got to go see a client, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I've been here for a while, and I got 4 kids at home, and, you know, I've been waiting here longer than you, so if you want to take my spot, pay me. He just looked at me, a weird look on his face. I'm like, buddy, time is money. You know that. You charge your clients a lot of money. And he kind of laughed. And I'm like, so if you want me to spend more time here, well, you're going to pay me for the time that you're not going to have to wait here. And he's just like, no, that's fine. He just kind of laughed. And he actually left. So I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he went out for a smoke or he didn't want to deal with it. But I thought it was pretty funny. I said it very nice. Not joking whatsoever. So yeah, that's kind of what I was hitting at. So anybody who spent the time last night actually listening to that show, downloading it, you know, even if you clicked off of it, the few minutes you did, or coming on and checking to see if I was live, I don't know if anybody did that. But law of exchange, you know, for everything taken, something should be given. It's the whole, when you banish and invoke is another version of that. It's nature pours a vacuum and always needs to fill it. It's habits. You know, if you switch out a habit, you're going to get that habit back if you don't replace it with a new habit. It's all the same. It's the law of exchange. It's compensation. So an exchange for you guys wasting your time and not getting what I normally put out, or at least getting new information, or whatever the case is. I put 4 links on there, but 3 of the books I've already went through. I've already put on special places, so it's not really something new. So as well, put a new book that, you know, I haven't even read yet. So I'm sorry, and that's what I did for that. And now I also put the Hermetica out there on my website. I had a link to it, and I'm going to add that to today's video. But anyways, today's stuff is Santo Bonacci going through laws, words, how to become a free man, about your birth chart. He gets into the deception. And, you know, if you're not depolarized, and I don't want people to listen to my stuff, but if you're not depolarized, this may not be for you. Or if you're at least not trying to be depolarized, I would ask that everybody listens to this with an open mind, understanding that Santos Bonacci, whether he is still polarized against, you know, the Church and Vatican and all that. Because, like, I mean, all this stuff that I learned that they've done is awful and is terrible. And, you know, I hate it with a passion. But I don't hate the ones that are there in power. I don't even hate the zealots, Christians that condemn magic and would call me a Satanist, even though they don't know me. None of that, you know, to me, it's not going to do any good either. But I do believe this information is important. I already had an episode where I spoke to my friend who didn't have a car, wasn't married to his wife, wasn't married to his girlfriend yet, and you know, didn't have a house yet or anything like that. So basically wasn't in any contracts. So I told him, you know, I did magic because I looked into promissory notes and getting my live birth instead of my birth certificate and becoming a free man and all that. But, you know, me and my wife would have to technically be not married, and you know, you can pay for your house with a promissory note after that. It has to be done correctly. It's a pretty big process. So my version is I'm just, instead of doing that, I'm going to do magic. I'm going to stay in the 3D realm. I'm going to have a spiritual connection. And, you know, I'm just going to manifest money. If money is the currency, then it is. And if that currency ends up changing, well, then I'll just manifest that. Or instead of manifesting money, I'll manifest the stuff I need rather than money. I will have a business. I'll get influence. I'll use the law of exchange in a different way. Point is, this is my route of doing it. That being said, I like learning about this stuff so I can either help, teach, or eventually maybe even do it. There's pros and cons to everything, you know. Everything. But this stuff is important. It's important to know, and it's important to see. I end up putting a clip of a Frederick Xavier video because he's talking about a man who went to court and got his court case dismissed. And he gives you all these references, websites, and the people to go see. And one of the guys he talks about, Mark Hollywood, actually put him on after with a clip, and he talks about it firsthand, and he tells you what to believe, what not to believe, and over sites they talk about a book They go through all these different words that are meant to trick you. They actually tell you about what to say if you're going to court, how it all works basically. And it's good knowledge to know. And it doesn't mean you have to go down and do this stuff. I mean, I would highly recommend it. I'm in the process of doing certain things myself, the things I can do at this point anyways. But point is, knowing this helps you realize about money, helps you realize that, the monetary system, it's just energy, the less importance you can put into money, or realizing you're never going to be rich and all that, the more you can kind of break it down, know what it is, know what it isn't, the more educated you are, the more power potentially you can have, So anyways, I've been continuously poked, pushed, prodded to put this out here over the last little bit. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting it out. I'm putting it out today. I'm going to put the stuff on here. I'm going to talk about some shit that he was talking about. A whole bunch of... and like I said, I don't like dwelling on the fear-based stuff. I don't like dwelling on this stuff. And Santos Bonacci can come off very... well, he's proud of being an Aries and all that, and you can see that, But the one thing I do want to say is, well, we've chosen, or most of us, anyways, maybe not us now, who are trying to get out of quote unquote the matrix, or do the spiritual path or initiation, but we've been chosen or taught, and we perpetuate the system, and it promotes believing in something we can't see, God's up in the clouds, and believe in Jesus, which is based on a book that was written by men, about another man, about God, about Moses, about this shit, I mean, Jesus doesn't have his own book in there, Gospel, right? Gospel, they say that's God's spell. Everybody's put on the God spell, basically. But anyways, and then they teach in that book written by men about a so-called whatever, that you shouldn't worship the sun or the stars or a bull, which is Taurus, the signs. But yet our days of the week are after the planets, the months are after the zodiac. The sun keeps us warm and makes the trees grow, which brings us food. And even if you still eat meat, it makes the grass grow. For that the grass through the photosynthesis is the energy the cow gets from there. How the cow gets its nutrients, and the same reason for us, if we eat vegetables, is better for us, But anyways, without that sun, this shouldn't happen. And the moon, likewise, controls the water, the tides, and all that. And then we have the wind, fire, water, wind, earth. I mean, these are the things we're made of and all that. These energies are within us. But we're told not to believe in something we can see. We know has healing powers, has all these abilities. It's magical, basically. And we're told to believe in something else and taught, to get out of the matrix, leaving the matrix, in our community, there's all this big spiritual assets. There's all this spiritual aspect of it, talking about, once you go down this path, you're out of the matrix. You're out of the matrix, but your physical body's still in it. You still have rules to follow, and if you don't do this shit right, technically, you're going to think it's bullshit, and you're going to live a shitty life, all that. But it's physical too, and I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying you should do this process. However, I'm starting it. I'm starting to do the things I can do, so that if it comes down to it or it needs to be done, then I can do it. But like in a previous episode, like I said, I talked about my friend. I told him to do that, and I'm helping him actually go through that. Sorry. But anyways, it's the stuff, can help you get out of tickets, protect yourself when you're in debt, or get out of trouble in the courts, other contracts, because most countries, but I know Canada 100%, as a person is not a free man. But you do have certain rights, and those are crucial. But if you become the free man, then there's nothing they can do to you. But while you're doing it, you got to do it right, and this is the stuff you need to know. A person is a corpse. It's corporations, and corpses. Where do they go? Well, they go to the morgue, right? So your mortgage is what they sell, is what we sell the corpses, right? The corpses go to the morgue. Well, we're going to put your corpses, all these people that are persons, that are entities on pieces of paper, we're going to sell them a fucking mortgage so they can live in that house. All these corpses in that morgue, basically. And it helps keep you working and pay until, they build up. You need a house, you need kids, you need a happy life, a job, and all this. And we do it until we fucking drop and go into the real fucking morgue. You know what I mean? And sometimes these mortgages help us fucking to go there. People get depressed because they can't pay their bills. Anxiety, they'll commit suicide. They'll start doing drugs or taking illegal antidepressants and all that. And it just gets worse and worse and worse, I've seen videos, articles, papers, books on how to pay your mortgage with a promissory note. Every dollar bill, no matter what the amount, is a promissory note. Since we are a corporation, we can use our corporation basically to trade with, basically. But you can only do that, like I said, whenever you become that free man, because right now you're not that. They own your corporation, is kind of what this is teaching. Whenever they sign that birth certificate, that name that is given to you is the name they own. So from your trust, which is your birth certificate, that money is theirs. When you go in and say, no, I'm not a stillbirth, no, I'm not a man lost in the water, no, I'm not insane, whatever it is that they use to say that they have entitlement to your money, then you're entitled to that money. It's a process, but you're entitled to that money. Now, they don't just hand you a fucking ton of money, but you can use it to pay for stuff, and there's a thin line there, and that's where this research comes in. But a $10 bill isn't currency. It's a promise to pay later with something equivalent of the value of $10. US or Canadian, the pound, yen, peso, etc. We used to trade something of value, either our time, our talents, business, trade, passion, hobby, or actual precious metals or woods or foods, what I mean, for someone else's stuff. You would do something for somebody, they would do something for you. We lived in kind of like a harmony with that. But then whoever you want to call it, I'm not even going to say the names, but they came along and said, if we get rid of trading and helping and working together, we create a currency as promissory notes, like money. They will control all. Everyone will work for us, from the poor, middle class, high class, to cities, countries, and continents. It's all perpetuated by the money system, basically. And after so many generations, this will be the norm, and there will be no other way. They won't remember or have proof of an older, better, different way. That's all it takes. You introduce this and you force people to do it by knife, by sword, and then nowadays people won't even believe you if you tell them that money is this and money is that, because that's all they've known, that's all they've been ever taught, it's all that's been put in their head. And until they're ready to wake up, and by that I don't mean like out of ignorance they just say, okay, no, now I'm ready. No, it's something that sparks in you, that happens in you, It could be alignments, it could be karma you still have to deal with before you get to do this path. Whatever it is, it takes time. With Santos, he's an astrologer, and he talks about Saturn in other videos in a different way. But in this one, he does say Saturn is Satan, and he talks about the judges wearing black, and that's true. And it's Satan's court, it's the it's the evil court and all that. And to a certain extent, what they're doing is very tricky. It is very greasy. Frederick Xavier, in my opinion, this is what he would associate Illuminati with, would be everybody who's using contracts and using legal jargon, because they have a whole different definition of things that we're not allowed to know unless you are a lawyer or a liar. And once you know that, basically, because when you go to court, the crown and your attorney are both fighting over who basically, they're both representing you, and they're pleading your case in front of the judge. The prosecutor's telling you you're a criminal, or you did something wrong, or you owe money, or contract breach, whatever, and your lawyer is basically trying to say, well, no, one of the two of them get the money, but they're all on the same side, and the side you got to be against. Like I said, I play a Frater clip of the actual person Santos is talking about, and Frater goes into a bit of it. on here. But I don't like the way he portrays Saturn, because once again, it's like the Bible, right? They're talking about God. And whether you want to say that God is real or that God's an asshole or that God's not even real is irrelevant. Point is, if people say God and they're talking about the all, well, the definition that everybody has of God or the Bible God or whatever can come into play. And that's written by man. Man has made that God like a human, wrathful, hateful, jealous, in the New Testament, loving and all this, compassionate, which is beautiful, but it's still human. One moment! But point is, the same thing with Saturn. Saturn's getting a bad rap for what these judges are doing, but they're the ones that decided to get that job. They're the ones that, whether they know it or not, they're in that realm, And the reason why the judge would get so mad if you do this reverse process is because either the judge or the prosecutor or your lawyer would have to pick up the fee, because technically you don't have to pay, because you have the money and your birth certificate to cover all this stuff. He talks about your utilities being a statement. A bank statement, a utility statement, electricity statement is telling you how much it costed. It's already covered and you're double paying basically. And you don't have to do all of this. There's ways around it all. But yeah, I just wanted to hit on the fact that they give Saturn a bad name. They're doing that evil shit there, and he's getting the bad fucking name for it. But anyways, those are starting. I look at all to do. Shane, sorry. I hopefully. Jesus. Okay. I just lost my train of thought, and I have these notes, and not notes, but it's just things I want to talk about. But I already talked about almost all of them. So, with my tags, with my content, with my titles and all that, I do my best to attract somebody who's already going through initiation and wants more clarifications, or someone who's an armchair occultist who wants a little more information, and hopefully I push them to go. Someone who's being depolarized already, yada, 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 so on. So I'm hoping most people are depolarized when they listen to this and they can use it with open mind and just extract the information and not start thinking Saturn is Satan and, everybody's out to get them, because that officer, even though they may be in the wrong and they have no right to pull you over because you're not actually driving commercial, unless you're driving a tractor trailer and you're moving fucking merch or whatever, but if you're just driving from A to B and they pull you over and try to give you a ticket, they don't really have a right. You know what I mean? A cop on the road asking if you're licensed to drive a car. They don't have the right to do that. But anyways, those people don't know. Most likely anyways, they don't know this stuff. They're just doing their job, what they're trained to do. So I don't want anybody going out there and hating on everybody, And I don't like promoting this stuff because I truly believe what you focus on, you bring. So I don't want to put a dark light on money or the money system and all that, but I do want to give the other option out there for people who, this is stuff I learned, and it's helped me with so much. It's incredible. So I've been pushed to put it out there. So anyways, I'm going to play the first part with Santos. It's about an hour long, and after that I'm going to come on, and then I'm going to just finish up with, I think it's about half an hour, with Santos and the Mark Hollywood guy, who he promotes and tells everybody that this guy can help you out super a lot. And it's actually, I'm pretty sure it's the same guy from the video who went to court and got his case dismissed. And so yeah, after all this I'll be back on, but I hope you enjoy. Make sure you check out the book links. I'm going to put all the links to Santos' videos, to Mark Hollywood's page, and to this other guy, what the fuck's his name, Marty Leeds, who wrote his book Pi the Great Work, and it's breaking down the alphabet, how words and alphabets have been used against us. Now, I haven't found that book yet, but I'm on the search. It won't be long. It's one of the things I'm good at. But I will link his website where you can pay for the book if you so choose. I think $5 a month get you access to everything. And he teaches how to do the same process, how to go through this. And Mark Hollywood likewise teaches how to do this process. There's another woman that Santos refers to, and she also teaches and how to do this. He talks about her for this first little bit for a while. So anyways, I hope you enjoy, and I'll be back on in a bit to break down and talk about this some more. All right. So once again, check out all the links from the old my last show. I hope you enjoyed those books. I should be putting on. I'm going to be redoing the part that was so shitty last night. I'm going to redo that fucking shit here today or tonight. But I'm getting a little leery because I'm having so much opposition. And initially, I said I was only going to do a few grades, and now I'm going way ahead. And, too much information can be overloaded, especially a curriculum. I read the whole book too, though, when I started, not going to lie. But then I started the curriculum, but it does stop you. You want, I'll just finish it and then I'll start, and then you finish it and maybe I'll do Franz Barden, and then you start looking at it. Oh, maybe I'll do the promissory note thing so I don't have to actually do magic, and you can always find reasons to not do it. But another reason to put this out here, to put this on here, is so that you have something to look up, something to talk about, maybe with the people in your house. This line of thinking, depending on your financial situation or whatever's going on, can open someone's eyes. Now, if they're not ready to see, they're not ready to see. My wife's exact words were, when I first brought this up, now this was like a year and a half ago, I know there's problems, babe, but what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it, so there's no point in learning about it. And I was like, wow, that's not my opinion whatsoever. I believe we do have power, and even if we can't do nothing about it, it's good to know. So, shit ever goes down, well, anyways. But point is, if someone's on the cusp, or their spirits around them, their ancestors, whatever, guardian angels nudging them to learn, and they're kind of pushing it off. They hear stuff like this, that there's another way, that there's a process, and you actually show them the proof that people are doing it, whether they believe it or not. It could totally open them up, open that fucking root chakra, bring down all those self-limiting beliefs that I talk about, bring down all that programming, and it wakes them the fuck up. Now, that's always a tough time, but that's something you have to go through. That dark night of the soul people talk about, that's part of it. It's not a one and done. This shit happens. This happens probably through every elemental grade. I know it's been happening with me. There's always something you have to get rid of. That's why these grades are the elements, which are part of your bodies, which are referred to the planets. I mean, you're going to have something built. You're going to have these beliefs. You're a child for a long time, until whatever age you are now. You know what I mean? And that's all programming until you decide, no more programming. I'm protecting my mind, and I'm going to take that crap out so I can fix my life. That's what ceremonial witchcraft is. That's what I'm trying to do anyways. That's what I've been doing. That's what I want to teach people to do. So this stuff can have a profound effect on people. It did me. This is one of the things that really helped me. It led me. And kept me going down the magic. I would mix this with Frederick Xavier, with doing my curriculum and my ritual work all the time. I learned about this. And, as I was doing my rituals and trying to manifest things, I was learning how, this doesn't work. How the fuck do I do this? It's a great way to keep your mind off the magic. And if you're doing money magic and learning about money, then you might not want to cross those streams. You might not want to, because that might make you think about your manifestations and all that, and fuck it all up. But it's good to have something else than just occult stuff to look into. I know I might sound paradoxical, because I said all occult all the time is going to program your mind faster, because that's all you're taking in, and it's going to make it more real, and your subconscious is not real or fake, and that's true, 100%. It's going to get in there, it's going to sink in there, it's going to be programming, and that's why I truly believe my manifestations are happening so fast. But if you're doing spells and rituals, you do need to stop thinking about it. Going to sleep, your subconscious is working on it, meditating, subconscious is working on it, ritual, you're putting it in the subconscious. And if you can watch magic stuff and you're not thinking about your spell, you're all right. If you can watch this stuff and you're not thinking about your spell and your manifestations, you're all right. That's all on you. It all depends on the person. Some people can't. They're going to be dwelling on it, and some people can. So it's probably a level of mastery you have to attain. But anyways, I'm going to put it on, and I hope everybody enjoys. Have a good fucking day.
What I'm going to talk about tonight is the dark and very, very, very dark history
power on
of
Bluetooth pairing
system that we live in. We live in a system, and there are people who are very powerful in this world who actually have think tanks.
Bluetooth connected.
And they basically this world who actually have think tanks that get together regularly on a regular basis, and they basically manufacture this live in. It's a system, and this what we live in manufacture this society that we live in. It's a system, and this what we live in, with all the stuff that you see, wars, famines, corruption, that's basically the end result of these think tanks that get together and produce this society that we live in. All right, so we look around us and we know that there's something wrong, because your neighbour next door is a nice person, your family are nice, people you work with are nice, people want to have a nice society where we can live in peace and just live and be free of wars. So you think, well, where's it coming from? Where is this constant tribulation that we have to go through? Now think 500 years back. If you think if you think we haven't got it so bad, well, these days, 500 years ago, the Catholic Church, this is a depiction of some of the chambers of torture in the Inquisition. Now, you guys could easily be classed heretics and you could have been led to the Inquisition. So, you just think back to those days, the Inquisition and the Crusades and all the Dark Ages, and how much our brothers suffered, mankind suffered. And we see now that
I know how things work.
We know things are really gone pear-shaped. What's the origin of it? Well, I'm going to expose it. Expose it with a little bit of history. The Catholic Church, the Roman cult, has been very, very, very busy in the last couple of thousand years. Starting with the Julian dynasty, then the Flavian dynasty, then the Antons, the Antonys. We had the empire. Rome was a republic, became an empire. Just like that, overnight. They killed Julius Caesar, bang, Augustus. It's an empire. This empire is our enemy, as you will see, because it has morphed as it's gone through the ages with the backing of the Roman cult and a very, very dark priesthood, who through their sorcery and evil and their papal bulls, they seal those papal bulls, they put a spell on them, they put them in their vaults, and what is written on those papal bulls goes. Why? Well, because they're sorcerers. And because when you make a claim of right, which in law means, hey, these are mine, I'm claiming them. Well, I've got the highest claim of right because they're in my hands. I brought them here. The evidence is there. So they're mine. What the Catholic Church did in 1302, very, 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 very powerful date in history. Pope Boniface VIII, very similar to my name, by the way. My name's Bonacci, and that is, Bon means good. Now get this, right? Face means to do in Latin. Do good. This guy was a contemporary of Dante Alighieri. Dante Alighieri, who wrote Paradise, someone help me, the Divine Comedy. He condemned this guy to the bottommost parts of hell for how wicked Pope Boniface is, and you're going to see. There's his tombstone. You see the crown? It's a double crown. Put that on because King Philip in France had a crown. And Prince Philip was a nasty, nasty guy. He's the one who in 1307, get these dates, they destroyed the Knights Templar. They had to, because they were rivals. And they were doing things the right way, the original Knights Templar. That's when Philip and Clement, the Pope, after Boniface, they had Jacques de Molay in prison for 7 years. They smashed every bone in his body. They blinded him with hot irons, roasted his testicles in oil. They did everything to that man with their little devices. This is the sort of devices that the Roman cult has used for a long, long time, and they're still using them in a spiritual sense in the courts. And I'm going to show you this. The courts are run by these people. Everything that happens in court is ecclesiastical. Everything. I know a few of you know this, so it's not a surprise, but some of you may not. But this what I'm teaching tonight, I only got an inkling of three years ago. But the stuff from these websites, you might want to put these down. These are all linked to my website, universaltruthschool.com. So if you've got a pen, you might want to write this down. I'm leaving this up for a bit. But most of the information that I'm telling you, you can source here. And it's Frank O'Collins in Sydney runs these. And he's going to, he's basically the information comes from here, so you can source that here. Now, back to Boniface, our little friend. So, he put that second crown on his head to do one up on Prince Philip. So they got together, the Vatican and Prince Philip, and they destroyed the Knights Templar. But here, what happened in this year was this guy, Pope Boniface VIII, in 1302 created the first express trust in history. What's a trust? Well, the Crusaders were going off to Jerusalem, leaving their homes, their palaces and their riches behind. So they developed an idea that they would say to their most trusted friend, I want to hand over my estate to you in trust, and I'm off to Jerusalem, I'm fighting for Christ. That's what the Crusades are all about, isn't it? That's another story. Anyway, so when I come back, you're my best friend. You're the best person to give my property to in trust. So he becomes the trustee, the owner of the property. What would happen was some of these knights would come back, and the guy their best friend that they left these treasures with, got used to the treasures and decided that they would keep them. And guess what? The courts would not support the knights, because the trustee had the right to keep the property. That's how the trust started. It worked. They worked for most people, but for some of them, they didn't get their property back. What happened was this guy and the Catholic Church, always desiring to control with their inquisitions, decided that they would create the first express trust in history. Alright, that trust is called Unum Sanctum. What does the papal bull say that they created to stick in their vault and put their spell on that has cursed us so much, this Unum Sanctum? It says that all the world and all the souls in it are ours. Remember the right of claim? This is mine. Well, a claim of right. They made a claim of right. They rocked up, sitting on top of the world, look around, seeing all these people sleeping, got all these gold in their vaults and all this power, and they said, we own the world.
I'm going to go follow her.
And so they do, because no one has challenged that. No one has challenged Unum Sanctum, this papal bull. It's in the vaults. And it's a curse on mankind, and I'll show you how. This was the first express trust in history. So they have claimed the whole world and all the souls therein. And you will see, by virtue of your birth certificate, that is the title of your soul that they own in their registries. They have registered you. And that is the title to your soul. So what you're going to learn in the second half of this presentation with Serena is how to collapse those trusts, because it's the only way to get out of the system and claim your dominion as children of God, of the universe, and not as their slaves, as people lost at sea, incompetent, because because that's how they consider you when you walk into court, an incompetent, dead, with no soul, because they own it. And those black judges who are priests of Baal, they are ecclesiastical. And I'll show you that after we go through a little bit more history. This is painful history, because if anyone of you have done their history and read a lot, like through the Dark Ages, you'll know how much humanity suffered. Do you remember the Huguenots in France, the Lollards in Scotland, the Collegiants, the Socinians, the Anabaptists, the Waldenses? They started around this time and everything. These guys started the Inquisition at that time because people were waking up back then. But they killed that. Then 200 years later, the Renaissance, that came back through the Hermetic wisdom that they were drawing from Egypt via Hermes, the Hermetica, which created all the geniuses that have ever existed, because every genius has read the Hermetica, because that's where the Bible draws all of its inspiration from. Michelangelo, they were weaned on the Hermetica. What happened? Well, we're going to go through a bit of history to show how they came down on that awakening too. That Renaissance was squashed. This one ain't going to get squashed. This one, people are waking up. We shouldn't be angry about the evil that they represent. It's the fact that they are insane. They're insane. The elite families who control the Vatican and who are behind this corporation, and it's the corporation of the Apostle Peter. Because Constantine, we can go earlier than this, we can go to 325, Constantine the Great. Supposedly, hundreds of years later, they found Constantine's donation. And that donation was written to his Pope Sylvester, to his... Constantine was, of course, the emperor. The Pope was Sylvester. And apparently Constantine says to Sylvester in this document, St. Peter is the apostle of Jesus that Jesus gave the kingdom of this earth to, therefore we're going to claim taxes based on that, on the donation of Constantine. We're paying taxes because of that fictional document, guys. All taxes to Rome. And the elite families, the insane Khazarian and Venetian black nobility families, just like the Saxe-Coburg Gothers, that the Windsor family, false name. These are the black nobility family. Bankers, bullion brokers. There's a book called Babylon's Bankers. There's a chapter in there called Monotheism, Military, Money, and Monotheism. Military, money, monarchies. He has exposed that this gathering, this cabal, they can't work separate from each other. A lot of people, when they see this pyramid of control, and they put the Queen on the top, and the Zionists, and the Freemasons, don't understand that the Vatican and the Jesuits, and the Superior General of the Jesuits, actually sit on top, behind the scenes, but they work together. Then they have, that's the crown and the Okay, welcome one and all. Thank you for turning up this evening. We're going to their think tanks. Then they have, that's the crown and the elite, insane families of the world who think they have better blood than the rest. And they have their think tanks. Then they have their financial control system, world resource control, world population control, and there's a little sheep down the bottom called debt slaves. We're all indebted. And we all bleed financially because they're taxing your wage. You go to work and you get taxed. Half of it goes to the government. We'll get into that a bit later. Okay, in 1455, we have a testamentary trust created. The first testamentary trust in history. That was Nicholas V, Pope Nicholas V, 1455. This was, bear in mind at the time, it's only like 20 or 30 years before Christopher Columbus sailed off to discover the Americas, right? This trust, this testamentary trust, which conveyed all of this property that the Vatican claimed, the whole world, they conveyed it into this trust. It's the trust that claims all your real estate. You know those titles you have? You don't own it. You own nothing. You do not own a thing. Well, you can't anyway. They're molecules. They belong to the universe, for a start. But the Vatican knows this. They know you can't own things. You can have right of use. That's all that title means. You will never own it. Never in this system. In this system, I mean, which is about to end.
Stop.
This one is called Romanus Pontifex. Romanus Pontifex. This one is crown. This is where the crown originated. Remember that double crown? That's going to morph into a triple crown because there are 3 trusts. This is the first one. There's 2 more to come. See that triple crown? That's called the tiara, the papal tiara, or the triregnum, the 3 kingdoms. What are those 3 kingdoms? Well, this is one of them. This is their fictional kingdom that they created. Remember Shrek and the king and his fictional characters? Same deal. Exactly the same deal. There it is in modern times. This Pope wore it. The last 3 popes refused to wear it. And there's Pope Boniface. That's him. That's who Dante confined to the bottommost pits of hell. And he and his successor Pope did what they did to the Knights Templar. Very important. Because they stole the Knights Templar technology and corrupted it like they do with everything for power and control. In 1481, now get this, 11 years before Columbus set sail, another trust. Now these 3 trusts, by the way, in the incipit of the trust, which is the introductory words of the trust, or the bull rather, it's the bull, the papal bull, the incipit says, for a perpetual remembrance. That's trust. Right? Now, this one's called attorney. Attorney A-E, that's an A, excuse my writing. Attorney Regis, the Eternal Crown. This is Pope Sixtus, the 4th. Pope Sixtus the 4th. And this is the second testamentary deed, trust, deed and will, the second crown of the people, which makes people slaves. This is the Commonwealth. The crown, the Commonwealth was born here. You think these are all English things, don't you? No. The Queen serves the Pope. The Vatican is the most powerful entity on this planet, accepting these people, the Knights Templar, or the Temple Bar rather, I forget the year, were granted this is in the City of London, the square mile. This land has no title. That is the only land in the Western Hemisphere, or you could say the world, because as you'll see, this system has spread its tentacles all around the planet. But mostly in the court systems, in the Western court systems, which I'm going to show you. So we're going to go to that now in a minute once I get off the history. Because when you go to court, you will see it. You'll see it, who they are, those judges and magistrates. Who exactly they serve. It's not you. And there's no justice. There is no justice. That's why you wonder when you hear these outrageous things that happen in court. People, innocent people who were speeding or something, who had some marijuana and they're in prison. My God, My God, there's some suffering in our prisons. In 1531, convocation. The third trust. This one takes away your real estate. When you register with your birth certificate, that number is the number of these three Sestui KV trusts. Learn this word. That's the name of your enslavement. That, in Latin, is six. 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 There are three of them. That's six in Latin. That's six. There are three Sestui KVs. Sestui KV or Setui KV. A lot of people say Setui. That's the Triple Crown. They own and sit on the crown. They are the kings of these trusts, which has taken away your real estate, your personal property, and your soul. This is for baptism, for Catholics. That's why they want baptisms. That's why they go around converting. And that has stolen and deprived us of our real wealth. These are worth about $15 million. If you've got a birth certificate in this country, in the Commonwealth of Australia, which is registered with the Securities Stock Exchange Commission in New York, you are a shareholder. Canon law, which I'm going to talk about soon, was established in this country in 1983 because something happened in 1975. The Crown of Aragon, which was in England's hand, which is this crown, they had the crown. See, they were granted this was granted to the Crown of Aragon, Isabel and Ferdinand. Well, General Franco took that when he became king in 1975, went back to Spain. It was originally for Spain, created at that time before Columbus went to America. And when Columbus comes back in 94, he signed the Tesadillos contract with the King of Portugal, with the approval of Alexander, Pope Alexander, back in Rome. So they have the title for all the Americas. And they're just Sestui KV accounts. That's all they are, trusts. Everything is a Sestui KV. Everything goes back to these trusts. Now, what I'm going to show you is when you go to court, it's trust law. They're administering these priests of Baal, of Saturn, who is Satan, and remember, as Virgil said in the Aeneid, we the Latins, everyone knows, are Saturn's people. Latin, L is replaced, you just take the S away from Saturn and you put L there. Same word. Latin is Saturn. It's the same word. L is L. That's another name for Saturn. That's what. But the Latin Church, that's why they speak Latin. This is all Latin, and even they know they're Latin because it's Satan's church. They dress in black. They are the Grim Reapers. They are reaping our souls. The souls belong to them. I saw this the other day on the internet. I thought I'd copy that and show you. There's who they are. The Grim Reaper is black. That's why they wear black. They are ecclesiastical. We'll go through that in a minute. I saw this on the internet. Isn't that appropriate? Remember the Austin Powers? 1 million souls. Yeah. No souls are enough. They love devastating souls, sodomizing souls. How much pedophilia is in this church? How much? It's coming down. It's coming down. The Jesuits, did you hear about this? I'm sidetracking a little bit, but in one of the largest settlements in the Catholic Church's sweeping sex abuse scandal, an order of priests has agreed to pay $166 million to hundreds of Native Americans and Alaska natives who were abused at the order's schools around the US Pacific Northwest. The settlement between more than 450 victims Imagine if you're one of them. We don't think about it. But, yeah, and how many of those people committed suicide? Those ones that are left to fight, if they've got any fight left in them after they've been sodomised and abused by these criminals. And the Oregon province of the Society of Jesuits, anyway, they apologised. The settlement is believed to be the Catholic Church's third largest in the sex abuse cases, behind the Los Angeles Diocese, which agreed to pay $660 million to 508 victims, and the San Diego Diocese, which agreed to pay $198 million to 144 victims. It's just a drop in the ocean for them for all the wealth that they have, but nonetheless, it will bring them down because it's coming in, crashing, thundering.
Why do they do that?
Because they're abusers.
But are they taught at preschool to do that? Are they brainwashed to do that?
It is part brainwashing, yes. They've been indoctrinated. They've been indoctrinated and they've been mind controlled. It's all mind control. All of this. It's all mind control. It's all filthy mind control. In that city of London, which I'm going to show you, this is what Franco Collins is talking about. There's Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies, the Middle Temple and the Outer Temple. That's what they've done in the City of London. That's the City of London. There are 3 cities in the world that do not... well, let me put it this way. There's 3 cities in the world that run the show. DC, Washington, it's just a square mile, a couple of square miles. City of London, where the Temple Bar is. The Temple Bar is in there. That is the only piece of land in the world that is over and above the Vatican. Remember that? I showed you that? That's in the City of London. It has to be, because this is the inner temple. It's the same as, this is the New Jerusalem. That's why they sing the song about New Jerusalem, the most popular song in the British Commonwealth, isn't it? Because they created the New Jerusalem. They were given the New Jerusalem. There it is, in the City of London. The Middle Temple, the Inner Temple, and that's the Outer Temple, based on that system that the Templars brought back from Jerusalem. It's a system of slavery. Because the ones who are in the Outer Temple, they are the Gentiles, or the Goyim, or the scum of the earth. They're the ones that get taught exoteric religion. For instance, that Jesus Christ is pure history. When they were teaching Jesus Christ 2,000 years, 3,000, 4,000, who knows how many thousand years, in India as Krishna. His name was Yes Krishna. And in Egypt as Horus. And he wasn't historical. They made it up. The Romans did that, the Julian family did that, and the Pisa... They made it up. The Romans did that, the Julian family did that, and the Piso family. This is a guy, Roman Piso, elite. This is one of the elites of the world. This is one of the richest of these families. They invented the whole historical thing. And put it into the Bible so that it would appear to be history, so that they could keep people in the outer temple and then enslave them. This is the New Jerusalem, guys, that has enslaved us. And that's why the judges refuse to have any kind of conscience and any kind of love and any kind of justice in their courts. They know they've got no right to send little boys into the prison. Why do they send them to prison? Because they're getting commissions. They get $160,000 because they create what's called a constructive trust. When you go to court, they make a constructive trust. And you're going in as the beneficiary of the trust, of the CORESPONDANCE trust, that has stolen all of your wealth, all of it. You have nothing until we collapse the trust, and that's what Serena's going to be doing in the second half. She's going to teach how to collapse these trusts. This is the 666, the mark of the beast, the mark of the fool. Because if you're foolish enough as a parent to say, oh, there's my little boy, he's born, and the government says you've got to register him, and, oh, well, we'll inform, the hospitals get $2,000 fee, spot fee, for registering you. That's why the nurses there are you going to register him? Yes, register. What does register mean? Well, I know what that means. That means king. You're giving over to the king. All capitals is a fiction. It's a corporation. And it's connected to this. This is why a lot of people go to court and don't understand why they lose. They don't understand what's going on, the jargon. Well, you're gonna get that. You're going to get that now. First, I want to show you a couple of pictures. That is 1968. That's the Pope. That's Pope Pius the IX. That's an army. This is a picture that the Vatican would not like you to see.
It's everywhere. Before she looks everywhere.
Comes out of Tony Bushby's book. He's another Australian who's written a lot about the Vatican, the papal billions. That is 1571, I believe. I don't have the information for that. I forget who was the famous painter. I think that's the Bay of Naples. There's 200 warships there. Do you know who owns those warships? They're on their way to fight against Turkey in 1571, an inquisition, a crusade. That's the Pope's. Look at those ships. That's only a part of the Navy. That has morphed into the US Navy, the Pentagon. They're still doing it. The Inquisition's on, man. It's George Bush and his buddies. They're going for the Pope. That's a sheriff. That's a New South Wales sheriff. That cross is their ecclesiastical duties. They are officers of the Inquisition. This is an officer of the Inquisition, people. He's telling you. Same cross that these Christians, Christopher Columbus, when he landed on the Caribbeans, they wrote letters back to Spain saying there were 3 million people on this island, there's only 200 left. Because Columbus has gone mad, killing people. He was murdering people left, right and centre. They were having an orgy of killing people that didn't repent and choose Christ. An orgy. And the Inquisition went to the American shores. That's Pope Julius being stoned. This is a famous painting, by the way, being stoned by Matthew, Mark, Luke and John for how evil he was. Pope Julius, good old Michelangelo gave us a nice little picture of Pope Julius sitting on the toilet seat for how much he loved him. There's a good reason why I'm showing you all these pictures. That's what Michelangelo, that's one of his sketches, Pope Julius, for how evil he was. That is a flyer that was going around in 1501 for the same Pope, saying that he was from the devil and from Satan. Because why? Because they are. Look at them now. See those SS officers and the Vatican? Look at them blessing the killers, training them in mind control. Go, the CORESPONDANCE accounts need to be charged up, we need money. Look at how eager this Orthodox bastard is. He's so eager to bless them. Go. He'll stay at home, eating his bread and cheese and champagne and caviar. Yeah, no worries. Look at that. That's a famous picture. There you go. Pope Pacelli. There's a reason why I want to show you that. I want to share that with you guys. Now, let's get into this. What I'm going to do now is show you how the courts work. It's all ecclesiastical. Okay, and this is very sad, but we need to know this. It's cruel. It's absolutely cruel. The poor young boys that go in to court with a lawyer. The lawyer's working for the Sestwi KV account. The prosecution is, the clerk is, and the judge is. And you bring a lawyer with you to prove that you're a ward of the state, that you're lost at sea. So you need a Sestwi KV account, someone to manage all your wealth. They've stolen it. A court room. So let's make a little courtroom here. We've got the judge here, we've got the clerk over here, and you and the prosecution, okay? Every trust has a trustee, a executor, and a beneficiary. Okay? That's the owner. This guy executes, sign. This guy's the beneficiary. That's you. You're the beneficiary of the Sestwi KV Trust. Right? Now, why they bring you into court is because they want to create a constructive trust with the presumption, with the knowing that you're already a slave of the system by virtue of your name. That's why the judge, the first thing he says is, what is your name? For the record, can we have your name? He wants that name. The moment you give him that name and agree to be that name, you bring life to the Sestwi KV Trust, and he's got you, because he wants to change roles with you. The clerk here is the trustee.
I don't know, but just
not the judge. This guy's the administrator of the trust. He's just the administrator, the judge. You are the beneficiary. This guy, the prosecution, I should have put the prosecution inside the circle, is executor. I think I've confused that, but it doesn't matter. He's the executor. He's got all the liability. He's the one that created got the writ created to get you into court, the summons. Because what they want you to do is appear in court, accept that you are the name. Oh, we've found the beneficiary, right? And then he's going to swap roles with you and be the beneficiary and get you to execute your own sentence. Now, if you think I'm stretching that a little bit, basically everything that goes on in court is the sacrament of penance. What's the sacrament of penance? We've forgotten. But these guys, these guys here well knew what the sacrament of penance was, because that's what brought them in there. The sacrament of penance is, you're a dirty, rotten sinner. We're all sinners. Sin. But God's merciful. Oh, he's lovely. He forgives. So you've got this treasury of credits up there in heaven. What we're going to do is we're going to administer those credits. We're going to administer them, and it's penance. And you pay. And the system works on the confession. It's all the confession. You go to court to confess your sins and pay for them. That's penance. Every single thing in court runs as a church does, and confession, and you go in there to confess and accuse yourself. Penance is a sacrament. In the new law instituted by Christ, in which forgiveness, this comes from the Catholic Church. Have a listen to this. This is from I've just ripped this off the Catholic Wiki Encyclopedia on the net last night. Of the new law instituted, penance is a sacrament of the new law instituted by Christ, in which forgiveness of sins committed after baptism is granted through the priest's absolution to those who, with true sorrow, confess their sins and promise to satisfy for the same. It is called a sacrament, not simply a function of ceremony, because it is an outward sign instituted by Christ to impart grace to the soul. As an outward sign, it comprises the actions of the penitent in presenting himself to the priest and accusing himself of his sins, and the actions of the priest in pronouncing absolution and imposing satisfaction. The whole procedure is usually called, from one of its parts, confession. That's what you're doing when you go to court. I'll show you this. Yeah, it's all in the wording. It's still there. It's in the wording. Look at the words and there it is. You watch. Because it is a judicial process in which the penitent is at the accuser, the person accused, and the witness. Remember this, because that's how the Inquisition ran, and that's how courts work. It's exactly the same thing. It's morphed, but it hasn't changed in its nature. So you become the person accused, the accuser, and the witness. They're saying it. While the priest pronounces judgment and sentence. The judge. The grace conferred is deliverance from guilt and sin, and in the case of mortal sin, from its eternal punishment, hence also reconciliation with God, justification. That's the sentence. Finally, the confession is made not in the secrecy of the penitent's heart, nor to the layman as friend and advocate, nor to the representative of human authority, but to a duly ordained priest with requisite jurisdiction and with the power of the keys, the power to forgive sins which Christ granted to his church. Now I'm going to talk about another thing here, indulgences. Remember I mentioned those? From the same encyclopedia. In Catholic theology, an indulgence is the full or partial remission of temporal punishment due for sins which have already been forgiven. Of course, God forgives, but you're a sinner, and we'll manage that for you. That's all it is. That's all it is, guys, and they are the priests of Baal. The temple Ba is Baal. Baal is Satan. It's the church of Satan. They're the Grim Reapers in black. Excuse me for that. In Catholic theology, an indulgence is the full or partial remission of temporal punishment due for sins which have already been forgiven. The indulgence is granted by the Catholic Church after the sinner has confessed and received absolution. The belief is that indulgences draw on the treasury of merit accumulated by Christ's abundantly meritorious sacrifice on the cross and the virtues and penances of the saints. They are granted for specific good works and prayers. They've monetized sin. And this was developed by the Jesuits in the 1500s with the backing of the Venetians who created the Jesuits. The Jesuits rule the world. They do. A court is an oratory. That's where you confess. Just look at these words. Have a look at these words. A clerk. What's a clerk? What does it sound like? A cleric. The judge is an ordinary. What's an ordinary? An officer of the church who by reason of office has ordinary power to execute the church's laws. That's what the judge is, an ordinary. A case. What's the case? We're going to hear a case today. Hear a case? Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Yes, tell me what you've done. That's what it is. That's why you will never bring to life that name when you go to church, when you go to Baal's church, when you go to court. Cortio, which means, oh God, I forgot the name. Cortio. It's an oratory. Writ. Is it two T's? No. Got it wrong here. Comes from. Well, there's no W in Latin. It doesn't exist. Well, it used to. It's a right. It's a religious right. Comes from. Well, there's no W in Latin. It doesn't exist. Well, it used to. It's a right. It's a religious right. Because let me say this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. The scribe and a notary. What's a scribe and a notary? He makes the writs. He puts the curse on you. The summons, whatever it is. A bill, Telstra. It comes from a writ, right? And the scrivener, scribe, verne, from verne Latin, is guess what? Our little friend, the indulgence. That's an indulgence. The writer of indulgences. They're telling you in your face, and we don't see it. A warrant. What's a warrant? Well, it seals the writ. It seals the writ. So it indemnifies the king and the queen from being sued if they lose. That's what a warrant is. Warrant comes from seal of the writ and is a form of indulgence. Hearing. Well, I've already gone through that. It's a confession. That's what a hearing is. Isn't this sick? Don't you think? It makes you sick. It makes you sick. And that's what's going on. And it's run by insane people. Oh, what's a sentence? It's penitence. Penance. Absolution. Prison or a fine. Prosecutor. Prosecutus. 3 words. Prosecutus. The skin. Self. Present. It's representing one's own flesh, or a person who is claiming to be you, making a self-accusation. So those warrants that come to your house or whatever, they are prosecuting you, right? So they're claiming to be you. They're just using that name on the trust. Attorney, turn over. Attorney tells you, I turn you over. That's what it means. You bring an attorney with you. Thanks, mate. Yeah, you help me. Come on, man. Let's go and see the judge. And tell him what to say. You tell him, and guess what? You find yourself in prison and you look at your attorney and he goes, well, I tried, I said, they work for the same guy. They're all getting commissions. That's why the prosecution is always required to bring their checkbook to court. Because if they can't get you to swap roles with him, you become the trustee, he becomes the beneficiary, and get you to prosecute your own sentence. If they can't do that, they bear the liability. They're going surety for it. They're prosecuting. So they're bringing the liability. They're charging your trust account. So, in a beautiful, on the websites that I showed you, on this one here, Spiritual Economics Now, you can go there to a page. It's beautiful. Please read this. This is the best 5 pages I think you'll ever read by Franco Collins. Right? All those websites are linked to my website, the top one, Universal Truth School, or you can go straight to them. But if you go here, you'll find the links. You can get to all of those. And in here is the information that Serena's going to share with you next about how to collapse these trusts and how to create ecclesiastical deed polls and to create a new birth certificate. That's called a live born record. Right? And I have a new trust number, and I have a universal, not a Roman date for my birthday. Anyway, Serena will be making that a little bit clearer. What do you say in court? Court. Who's who and what to say. This is what Franco Collins suggests. And I'm going to finish up with that and tidy up. Serena will do her bit after we have a break, and then we can do some question and answers after that. All right? And believe me, Serena's got some beautiful things to share with you because she is really, really leading in Victoria and spearheading this technology. So... but the most important thing, guys, is to get on here. There are audio files. You can listen to, there's about 16 audio files on talkshoe.com, is it? Or .org? It's .com. You'll find it, there's a link to it here in these. There are links to it. But you can download Franco Collins' audio files and learn all this. I've just been learning this in the last 3 months. This is what to say. We all know from our indoctrination, programming and schooling that judges are impartial and have sworn an oath to this effect. This means he must not favour either plaintiff or defendant, but our experience reveals that he does indeed favour the plaintiff, indicating a glaring conflict of interest. That the prosecutor, judge and clerk all work for the state, the owner of the Sestwi KV Trust, So, as the case is not about justice, it is about administration of a trust. They all represent the trust owned by the state, and if we are beneficiary, the only two positions left are trustee and executor. There's only three positions connected to these trusts. And the state, the Vatican, owns them. So if you detect the judge's impartiality, although I doubt the case will get this far, you might want to let him know that you know this. If you consider court as entertainment, and if you can stand the evil emanating from its offices, the fear, the angst oozing from the walls, and the treacherous atmosphere, then go. Knowing that under trust law, we cannot be trustee or executor of a trust, while being beneficiary, as that would be a conflict. The position of beneficiary may lack clout, but the other positions hold liability. Remember? He brings the writ, he brings the case to court, the hearing, come and confess, you've been accused, talk to the judge, tell him what you talk to the priest of bail, he's dressed in black there all for you, monetising sin, pay, because what they do is they dip into our Sestui KV accounts because they've got our numbers. There's three numbers: birth certificate number, tax file number, and social security number. They are the three major numbers. There are other numbers. They're the numbers that follow you around all your life for 75 years. That's why they demand that you retire before 75, because these birth certificates, they only run 75 years. Because it's all about banking. This is also about banking, guys.
Libya is one of only 4 or 5 nations on earth that still own their dollar.
Thank you very much. Say no more. The Rothschilds, they want their banks, they want these Sestui KVs going, 666, the mark of the beast. They want it all around the world, and they think they're going to bring in a new world order. This is the new world order. Because as it morphs, remember Constantine and the Julian evil? How did Julius Caesar get to power? He ran fire departments in Rome, and if you didn't pay, you found that your neighbourhood would get burnt to the ground. That's how he got into power. It's mafia. It's all mafia. It's all, look, there you go. Beautiful couple, aren't they? That is the king of pedophiles. That is the queen of pirates. They've been running the Hudson Bay Company and the East India Company, selling drugs to the Chinese. They're pirates. They ran the pirates. She's the queen of pirates. They hire mercenaries. They hire inquisitional soldiers. These guys are dupes. These guys think they're doing their job and they're doing something good. They've got the afterlife to deal with after they've been persecuting people. That's the private guilds that run this from the Temple Bar. They are above the Vatican. Only these people, because that name was granted to them in absolute. They are the only ones in history who have that land. Therefore, they can do this. And since 1815, since the Rothschilds bankrupted the Bank of England and took over those private guilds, we've been under that family, Khazarian family. That's what they are. I'd just like to ask a question. I wonder if they've been introduced to these people yet. I wonder if they know that they live on the same planet. And the guy who shot this film, by the way, he went home, he was from New York. He shot this and committed suicide. That's the story about it. That's a famous picture. Because he went there and he saw that and he saw this bird is going to eat that little kid. Now why are these people suffering and starving? Because this system has stolen the wealth of the whole world. And we have to wake up. A few more things about what to say in court. This will be a surprise if you have to go to court. When the name of the trust, example John Doe, is called by the judge aka administrator aka trustee, you can stand and ask, are you saying that the trust which we are now administering is the John Doe Trust, Your Honour? And you watch him turn white. The moment you, in the moment you just show an inkling of that knowledge, because they are hiding this fact, they are denying. that they're operating trust law. We can stand up, okay, this establishes that we know that the name is a trust, not a live man. What's the judge's first question? What is your name? State your name for the record. We must be very careful not to identify with the name of the trust, because doing so makes us the trustee. What does this tell you about the judge? If we know that the judge is the trustee, then we know that the judge is the name, but only for this particular constructive trust, which is the case. Prosecution, it's a hearing, it's in the Inquisition. Now, think about all the times that the judge have become so frustrated by our refusal to admit to being the name that they issue a warrant, and then as soon as the man leaves, he is arrested. How idiotic is that? They must feel foolish for saying John Doe is not in the court, so I'm issuing a warrant for his arrest, and then the man whom they just admitted is not there is arrested because he is there. That's how it works, this personal fiction. It's disgusting. Their desperation makes them insane. They must get us to admit to being the name or they pay. Remember, he's got to bring his checkbook along, man, because he has to pay if he fails to shift the liability over to us, and we prosecute and we sign. We execute our own sentence. This is beautiful, what you're going to learn here. This is really, really beautiful. They're desperate. They must get us to admit to being the name or they pay, and we must not accept their coercion or we pay. Because the judge is the trustee, a precarious position, the best thing to say in that case is, John Doe is indeed in the court, Your Honour. Point to the judge, it is you as trustee. You are John Doe today, aren't you? Why not? Why not? We have dominion. We are men and women. We're not persons. We're not. We can't keep going with the fiction. Why? Why would you? It's insane. During their frustration over not admitting to being a trust name, the trustee and or executor of the trust, we ought to ask who they are. Before we go any further, I need to know who you are. Address the clerk of the court. The trustee for the Sestwi KV Trust owned by the state province. Are you the Sestwi KV trustee who has appointed this judge as administrator? Trustee for the Sestwi KV Trust owned by the state province. Are you the Sestwi KV trustee who has appointed this judge as administrator and trustee of the constructive trust case? Numbers. Did you also appoint the prosecutor as executor? Did you also appoint the prosecutor as executor of this constructive trust? Then point to the judge. So you are the trustee, then point to the prosecutor. You are the executor, are you not? And I'm the beneficiary. So now we know who's who, and as beneficiary, I authorise you to handle the accounting and dissolve this constructive trust. We have the power to do that. Dissolve this hearing. I don't want to accuse. I'm not into sin. I'm divine. I'm from heaven. One heaven. I'm a spirit. I'm not the dead. This is what they consider us. This is how they do it. Lost at sea, abandoned, filial, minor or incompetent, ward of the state, etc. Because that's why they made the trusts. They made them for ward of the state. There's someone who's incompetent, you know, like if someone's, say like a very severely mentally handicapped person and his parents die and his uncle steps in and says, I'll look after him. I'll look after him. Everything's in trust, and because he loves him and he takes care of him.
The word deed comes from the word deed.
Yes. Yeah. I went through some words, didn't I? That was just a bunch of words, guys. It's all there. Look, you'll see it. It's the Inquisition. I'll just finish up this. I now claim my body, so I am collapsing the Cestui KV trust which you have charged, as there is no value in it. You have committed fraud against all laws. Likely we will not get to hear that before the judge will order case dismissed. Or even more likely, the PE, as he clings tightly to his checkbook, will call, we withdraw the charges. You watch it and see it happen, guys. Yes. Oh, yes. There's hundreds and thousands of people doing this and doing it. There's a video clip on remember this, loveforlife.com. Do you know that one? Go to it. Have a look at this guy, and in 5 minutes, the judge has walked out the door. Why does the judge walk out and have a recess? Do you know why? I'll just finish off with this really quickly. 3 forms of law in the court. When you go to court, the magistrates, you get UCC. First up, commercial law. They can only fine you here. You can only get a fine. When the judge has a recess, he's not telling you what he's doing. He's changing the form of law. And you can go to prison in canon law. That's the Vatican. That's canon law. It's not common law. It's admiralty law. Admiralty law. This is the second form of law. This is the first one. The third is Talmudic. From the Bible. This gives them the priest to send, this gives them the authorities, the priests of Baal, to send you to your sentence of death. Here they can send you to jail. That's why he runs out of court. You'll see the judge in that video clip on the website, loveforlife.com or .org, whatever, you'll find it. And go down and have a look at the guy, and you'll see how the judge goes, because he got frustrated with this guy. The guy just refused to give him his name. He said, are you John Doe? And he goes, I'm John. I repeat, are you John Doe? He says, I'm John. Do you have a family name? He says, I have a family name, but that's not important for today. John will do. I'm here to offer remedy. And the judge got so angry. Sit down! He's basically yelling. He's telling his dupes, his bailiffs and all his sheriffs and everything to get him and throw him out of the court. And he says, don't do that. You'll be dishonouring a court official, because he'd already given his documents to the bailiff. And once those documents are on that bench, that's it. They can dishonour that. And it's very, very dangerous. Anyway, the judge got frustrated and he goes, we're going to have a recess. And the guy says, how long? I haven't got all day. How long are you going to be? And anyway, the judge opens the door and walks out. Just as he walked out, he realised, he says, the judge has jumped ship, because that's what this is, a ship. Remember, it's admiralty. It's the law of the high seas. He's in his ship. He's in his boat. So he immediately announced, he said, for the record, the judge has jumped ship. He's abandoned ship. I, as a sovereign in this court, take authority. Case closed, with prejudice. Have a nice day. And just walked out. Okay? This is the power you've got. If they adjourn the case, that's fine. It stays in the same court. If the judge says we're going to have a recess, that's when you step in and you say, Your Honour, I don't consent. Because it's an offer. They're administering the trust. You don't have to go to jail. You don't have to consent. The jail is just a warehouse where they put the goods, where they store the goods. That's all it is. You're just the goods, because you are their goods. So that's the power you have. You don't consent. And you can always relay to the judge that if you want to have an appeal, if you say to the judge, I seek an appeal for I seek leave for an interlocutory appeal on a matter of law, remember that sentence, I seek leave for an interlocutory appeal on a matter of law, if you say that...
No. All right, sit down, please, sir. Just speak. All right, just yet. He. sit down, please, sir.
Just Steve.
Pardon?
Just
Which?
Steve. I'm here to correct a mistake by the court. I'm going to say.
Well, first of all,
The court has made a mistake.
are you Wilfred Keith Thompson?
No, that's not what I normally go by now.
Can I see the information?
That's a fictitious affidavit in terms of person legally speaking, so. I've tried to clarify this a few times, but apparently the level of incompetence.
So your name is Keith Thompson?
My name is Keith, that's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
You don't have a last name, sir?
I have a family name, clan name, but that's irrelevant today.
So you are not Wilfred Keith Thompson?
Okay, one more time on and for the record, I am Keith. Nothing more.
And sit down, sir. I'm looking for a Wilfred Keith Thompson. Please sit down, sir.
Actually,
Please sit down, sir.
sorry. Can't do that. I served into the court this morning.
Sir, I'm looking for a Wilfred Keith Thompson. You are not that.
This is
Sit down, sir. Please remove this gentleman from the courtroom.
Thank you.
That's the person you're looking for.
Sir, that is everything. I'm trying to remedy things. That's me, and you are. I'm a peace officer. You want to dishonor a court official? That's on the bailiff's desk.
Sir, are you here on behalf of Mr. Thompson?
I said I was the administrator for that account.
Are you here as agent for
Would you
him?
guys please back up? Thanks.
Are you here as agent for him?
Not as agent, as administrator, much like you are administrator of this court.
Sir, you're either him or you're here as his agent.
I'm
To
his
speak on his
administrator.
behalf. Are you either of those?
Yes, it's all.
Pardon?
Yes, he's in common law jurisdiction, which I established as soon as I came in here this morning and reestablished again. The bailiff understood me. This other bailiff, wherever she went, she understood me as well. And this gentleman doesn't like
We're
talking.
going to take a recess. Thank you.
Thank you. All rise.
How long? How long, sir? I don't have all day, thank you. I have things to do.
We'll take the court.
Yeah, actually,
Formal recess.
please note that the judge has a family in the court. It's a family ship, and I, as the sovereign in this room, claim authority, case dismissed, with cause and prejudice. Have a nice day. See you later.
I'm going to leave off, I'll start making my way down to
There's a maxim of law that states that which cannot be named does not exist. And that's what we're going to be going over today. So, let's get into it. I'm going to begin by first stating that I am not a lawyer, and I am not giving legal advice, nor am I saying that one way is better than another. Anything that you're choosing to do in the realm of law is solely at your own risk. It's like a minefield. Just because someone else made it across doesn't mean that you will. One wrong step and you're toast. I am merely giving my observations and experience with this particular maxim of law. That which cannot be named does not exist. So in the preceding clip, I'm not even going to get into why the man was able to repel the bailiffs like vampires with a cross when the judge had ordered him thrown out of court. Nor am I going to get into how he was able to dismiss his own case. That is all advanced stuff. What I want to focus on here is why the judge kept asking him his name, his full name, and he was not able to proceed without it. It was the very first thing he's asking for, which this guy refused to give him. And it's because of this maxim of law. That which cannot be named does not exist. Had the man given the judge his name, it would be at that point that the judge has jurisdiction over him. If you watch any of those demon possession exorcism movies where they're trying to get the name of the demon so that they can cast it out, because once they get the name, it gives them power and authority over the demon. It's kind of like that. And so the judge kept trying to get the name. Even after he ordered him thrown out of court, he kept trying to get the name so that he would be granted authority over him. And with no way to proceed, he had to end up taking a recess and leaving court. So I want to tell you about my experience in a court of law that relates to this. It was many, many, many years ago in my 20s when I was living in a small apartment, and I was a model tenant, never had any problems, always paid my rent on time. And I was such a good tenant that I stayed there for 10 years. Eventually I moved out and everything was great until I had asked for my security deposit, which the owner refused to give after a month of waiting for it. And it wasn't even that much. It was like $300. But to me back in the day, that was a lot of money. And I ended up taking him to small claims court over it. Well, he went there and argued damages. But after a decade of living there, there's going to be wear and tear. In fact, I told him that they're lucky I had lived there so long because I got another decade use out of that old carpet they had upstairs. But while he was arguing damages, I was arguing procedure. That procedure being that I was supposed to be given a walkthrough of the apartment unit while they itemized damages to me. And I also brought proof from the U.S. Post Office that I had my mailing address forwarded to my new residence because they didn't notify me through the mail either. And so I went through all the obligations and duties of the landlord that he failed to comply with state law. And he got really, really angry in court. I thought he was going to deck me. But the judge was impressed with it. And under Missouri statute, I was able to sue him for triple damages. So it's up to $900 now. But I ended up losing the case, or rather the case was dismissed. Why? Because I had named the owner himself as the liable party, when the property was actually in the name of his trust. So even though I had this guy dead to rights, and the judge favored my side of the case, he had to dismiss it because I had the wrong name, which trumps everything. I can't argue procedure and then get the procedure wrong myself. Naming the responsible party is the starting point for the entire case. And if that's wrong, the entire case is wrong and had to be dismissed. Of course, this only forced me to go back and file a new case claim with the correct name, which made this guy even angrier. And he eventually settled with me. And at first he was trying to settle the original $300, but I got him for $6. I got him for double instead of triple, which he was willing to do because he knew that I had the right name this time and state statute was on my side. So why am I going over all this? Because naming is just as important in magic as it is in law. In fact, it is one of the laws of magic, which I cover in the Laws of Magic subscription series, which is not available right now, but will be again in April. Now, many of you know my recent bout of tonsillitis from the previous video, and as you can guess, I'm not simply content to go to the doctor and take antibiotics for it. There will be magic. I did the soap ritual from the Fire and Water program, as well as a few others. Now, one of the reasons I go to the doctor is so that I can get the correct name of what I'm dealing with, so that I can gain the knowledge of what it is I'm trying to get rid of. And so I was told by two doctors tonsillitis, but, I took the antibiotics, Still in pain. I did the magic. I'm still in pain. So I go back to the doctor, the ENT, and I tell him I don't think the antibiotics are working because I'm still hurting. And so he takes a look and he says, well, I think they are working because your tonsils look a lot better. So then it must not be your tonsils. So I showed him where exactly it's hurting, and he was pushing around, and he said that that's where your salivary gland is, and it's most likely that your salivary duct is blocked. Most common cause is a stone, a salivary stone, which I've actually had before on the other side close to my ear, but this one is in my neck. The prescription for which is water and sour candy. He put me on another medication, which he said may or may not help, but the main thing is water and sour candy. Funny synchronicity, when I went to the grocery store and picked up a bunch of sour candy, the song I Want Candy started playing in the store. But the point is, the magic worked. It worked for what I had named. As he said, my tonsils looked better, a lot better. But that wasn't the cause of my pain. Again, I had named the wrong thing. That which cannot be named does not exist. Now, I could go with something like cause of throat pain, but, that's being really general. It's always better to get the exact correct name, which I thought I had.
An
2 doctors said
interlocutory
tonsillitis.
appeal on a matter of law, if you say that, then the judge is going to be very, very reluctant to let you go to appeal, because then he misses out on his commission. It's all about commissions. They're getting paid, and they're addicted to the payments that come from it. The thing is about honour. You can call the judge your honour, because if you have more honour than the prosecution, who are liars, and if you go in there honourably in every way, treat the judge with respect, and you will win.
Oh, because it has to be done with me. Alright, yeah. Send information to Austin's phone or whatever. Alright.
Comes from, well, there's no W in Latin. It doesn't exist. Trustee for the Sestui KV Trust owned by the state province. Are you the Sestui KV trustee who has appointed this judge as administrator and trustee of the constructive trust case? Number. Did you also appoint the prosecutor as executor? Did you also appoint the prosecutor as executor of this constructive trust? Then point to the judge. So you are the trustee, then point to the prosecutor. You are the executor, are you not? And I'm the beneficiary. So now we know who...
security of their person. And something else I should point out, like in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because we live in a democracy, and like Jordan Maxwell says, demo means mob, and cracy means rules. So we live under mob rules. And in a democracy, supposedly everything's supposed to be for the collective good of everybody, not just for, say, one man, right? But here's the kicker. When all these fake de facto courts are taking people to court, how dare them make a claim on your land when effectively in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms they can't, because if it says everyone has the right to enjoyment of property, so basically nobody can own anything in a democracy. So if I can't own the very house that I'm paying a mortgage on, why would I buy a house? And furthermore, when you go to court, how dare somebody from that court state that they're making a claim on your house if you're late on your payment, if it states that nobody can own it, and that everybody only has the right to enjoyment of property, not to ownership of it.
Yeah. Goes back to usufruct. Have you heard of usufruct?
I've heard of it, but I don't remember too much of it. It was quite some time when I heard about that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to pull it up on Wikipedia, and I'm just going to read a little bit from that, Mark, because this is something I'm learning about from the sovereigns in the UK. They're pretty switched on to this. Usufruct is a right of enjoyment, enabling a holder to derive profit or benefit from property that either is titled to another person or which is held in common ownership.
Yeah.
As long as as long as the property is not damaged or destroyed. In many usufructory property systems, such as the traditional ejido system in Mexico, individuals or groups may only require the usufruct of the property, not legal title. Usufruct comes from civil law, under which it is a subordinate legal right of limited duration, usually the person's lifetime. The holder of usufruct, known as a usufructuary, has the right to use the property and enjoy its fruits. So usufruct means use the fruit. Usus, U-S-U-S, is the first part of this word, and then fructus, F-R-U-C-T-T-U-S. So, I'll just read a little bit more. Under Roman law, usufruct was a type of personal servitude, a beneficial right in another's property. The usufructuary never had possession of his property, on the basis that if he possessed it all, he did so through the owner, but he did have an interest in the property itself for a period, either a term of years or a lifetime. Unlike the owner, the usufructuary did not have a right of alienation, abusus, but he could sell or lease his usufructuary interest, even though a usufructuary did not have possessory title. He could sue for relief in the form of a modified possessory interdict, prohibiting order. So isn't that interesting? This is pretty much what you're talking about, and it appears that we can use things but not own them.
That's right. And you know what that's called? You know what what you just read, Santos, is? That's called the pursuit of happiness. And they call it P-U-R-S-U-I-T in the States, right? The pursuit of happiness. And that's basically, if you're getting screwed, well, you can sue them for your happiness. But it's pretty bad when you live in a day and age and a society where you have to sue somebody to be happy. And good luck, and good luck suing the government when they claim that they're a dead corporation. Like the government of Canada is dead. They're a corporation. So how can you sue them? And they all avoid the liability by acting as agents for a dead entity, which is the corporation, say, of Canada.
Yeah, that's the trick, isn't it? So really, they're also using the securitized birth certificate, aren't they? They're not really owning it, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, isn't it?
No, actually, Santos, they own it. Because what happens is, you're back to that, to the fructose there, right? Mm-hmm. You're back to that, because what happens is, when you apply for the birth certificate, right, your parents give up a statement of live birth. Here in Canada, via the Citizenship Act, C-29, 7 years later, if the parents don't claim that kid back, that kid basically becomes an orphan. In Canada, the dead entity comes along and says, thanks for the salvage. That's now our kid. And that's how children become, say, citizens. And then what happens is, we think that all along we're running around and that is our name. No, that becomes the government's name, and we gave up the property. And like that usury fructose thing that you were just saying, then you become the agent to that, meaning that, well, you can enjoy the benefits off the land, but you can't own it. So if I can't own the land and I can only enjoy the benefits of you saying, oh, well, I didn't make a very good agent or trustee on that property this week, then they're going to give you the benefit of throwing your butt in jail.
Yeah.
and that's not a benefit I'm willing to accept. And that's the biggest scam ever. So if the government of Canada, or say Australia, or the United States through the Constitution, if they can't own anything, how dare these people come along in the private and try to rip you off using the Constitution?
Right. That's stupid. Okay. Well, that's the point I was trying to get at, because when they hurl your butt into court, most of those agents, they're agents working for the corporation, and they do not own the name either. So they're making a claim. Most of the prosecutors, like the police departments and everything like that, they are also not owning this securitized bond, are they? They're just agents also. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that so?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So you've got a someone from the police force that is taking you to court because you've been speeding. Okay. So they're making a claim on a name that they don't own either. They're just an agency, right?
That's right.
Good.
Trustees to that name.
Good. That's clear in my head now. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So the government that actually owns legally, I don't know about lawfully, the birth certificate, that government, who is that? Which office is that? Who can we pin it down to?
The Register General. The Register General, like here in Canada, okay, and look at the General of an Army, right? The Register General is actually called Corporations Canada. And because the police don't own that name, they're saying that, oh, well, the government owns that name, and that the Register General is just registering the fact that you left that name as salvage, and that becomes their salvation.
Wow. The whole system is based on ecclesiastical principles, isn't it?
That's right. And that salvation they speak about in the Bible, that's why they call it soul trading. They're trading your soul via your birth certificate and your human resources, right? Your resources, your sweat equity, and they're trading your soul on the stock exchange, and your soul is the stock, and at the end of the day, you're getting exchanged. You're getting nothing back. And they're raping us. They're making billions, trillions off us.
And simply because these agencies know that they don't own the name either, but they're making the presumption, so everything's based on presumption, and of course you go into court thinking you need to be honourable, and so you go defending that name, and in so doing you are committing fraud or being belligerent or creating a controversy. Therefore, they've got your butt. Okay.
That's right.
Let's see if I've got that right, and we'll clear that up after the break. Let's take a break. Thanks, Mark.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotics.
Freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Consciousness is awakening the masses, and people don't like what they see. When you wake up, you look around and you see how things really are. And Mark, we can see the results, and we can see what's occurring around the world on the secular plane as a result of consciousness sweeping the earth, and people are just seeing all the fraud that has been perpetrated upon them. It's quite interesting times we live in, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, and it's overwhelming. And you know what, Santos? I'd like to say something. You were talking about presumptions, going to court, being the defendant, okay? Now, look at the word, presume. Presume, right? So by being a citizen, a slave, cited as then as being on their ship, right? Slavery, you're cited as then as being on the ship. You're going into presumptions. You're getting pre-sued, presume, right? Pre-sue me. And then people are walking into these courts and they're acting like defendants. And who do defend? They defend the Queen Anne, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, something I would like to address, Santos, and if you don't mind, I'm going to babble for a couple of minutes, but a lot of people, they claim that they want the truth. But you know what it really comes down to? They can't handle the truth. And they'll do anything in their soul They'll do anything in their mind to avoid facing their soul. And something I would really like to address is, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. And I don't like the word religious as the first 4 letters, R-E-L-I, rely. I'm not into lies and relying. And all these Christians and Catholics, they're all self-righteous. They'll kill their neighbors with their tax-paying dollars. And what was the first commandment to the Bible, or one of the commandments? Thou shalt not kill. You know? And then, and something I do want to bring up is, like, people talk about Jesus, you know? Now, Jesus was a corporation, and they persecuted him. He flipped over the money changers' tables. Now, I'm not saying he was here. I'm not saying he was alive. He wasn't alive. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But he flipped over the money changers' tables. He was addressing their situation, saying, listen, I'm not into religion myself. And then you guys come bringing in your dirty skank-ass dollars into a church. How dare you bring that into the house of God? And furthermore, here's what people have to realize. Jesus was a corporation. And to make things simple, what did they do? They persecuted him. And after they persecuted him, what did Jesus say? He said, listen, I'm not part of your corporation. I'm going to redeem myself, and I'm going to come back to life. So Jesus was dead. He was a dead entity / he was a dead corporation. And what did he do? He redeemed himself and brought himself back to life. Now, if that Bible isn't a good story and isn't telling people exactly what to do and what not to do, as dead as slavery and usury, and even all these Anglicans, these Anglicans, look at the word, Anglican, can I lie again? You know, it's like reliability, the ability to rely, and Protestants, Protestant, you know, people better wake up. All these Catholics and all these Christians, Christ-I-Ams, and all that, they better pull their heads out of their asses and stop giving their money to some de facto government so that they can go kill little innocent Palestinian and Afghanian children overseas, because it really makes me want to puke.
Yep.
And the funny part is, Santos, the funny part is, too, all these Catholics and Christians running around, you know what the first ones to judge? Them. And I got words for them, too. Judge not, lest ye be judged. I'm so tired of all these self-righteous assholes running around on this planet, and meanwhile they're talking about, oh, I love God, and God is good, but let me give the Prime Minister or the President another $5 so they can go buy bullets and napalm poor colored people overseas. It just makes me sick.
Yeah. I've pointed this out too. I mean, if we want to do and avoid what is condemned in the Bible, one of the things condemned in the Bible is actually tax collectors. So, you know, and people looking for donations, like the churches, for instance, is just another tax. And tax collectors have always been looked down upon by the spiritual elite, or, in other words, the priest types and the spiritual ones in the community. So, along with money changing, all these money things. Isn't it interesting?
Yep.
Yeah, so, and this is a way for them to make some more money, because you see, they know that the name is belonging to a government which is a dead corpse, but they resurrect that name when they make a claim against it, and they hope that you turn up as the, well, I guess, are they looking for a beneficiary to pin it onto, and hoping that you're going to go in and defend it, put life to it, so the moment you go into court and make a statement, I'm not this, I'm not that, or I'm whatever you say, you're done, because you're belligerent and creating a controversy, so they own your butt, right?
Well, that's right. Look at the word contest. People are walking in, and technically, all these people, like, they think they're the beneficiary of these government-certified names when they're not. They're the trustee, and the agent is the trustee, and the agent or the trustee is always the one who pays taxes. So the government will say, oh, well, you were doing 200, you were doing 60 in a 50 zone, you owe $200, and they're saying that they're the beneficiary to the account. And look at the word, fen, and fishery. We live in the age of Pisces. Jesus was a fisher of men. They're fishing for your tax-paying dollars. And then, speaking of the Bible, you're back to the parable. Are you par able? Are you able to speak at par? And these people walk in like a bunch of little defendants. Oh, I'm an ant, and I'm going to defend the queen. Well, you're going to go down with the ship. And that's why, like I said, like, oh, well, listen, I'm getting off your ship, and I'm joining, I'm now a foreigner. Look at the word, foreign, right? I am, so I'm a foreigner, and that's why I joined the sovereign Squamish government, because I don't pay taxes, and I'm not giving these people $5 so they can go commit treason and, adulterous crimes and stuff, and that way there too, back to that certificate we were speaking at, that's why the notaries are so important, and same with the authentications office, which comes from the Justice and the Attorney General's, get this, corporate service division, so everything's back to the corporation, and people have to be like Jesus. They thought he was the corporation, they persecuted him, and all of a sudden he said, you know what, screw you, I'm coming back to life, and here I am. And then he took off to say, bye, I'm no longer part of your man-made lunacy.
Yeah. And this is what it means, the dead shall rise. The dead
right.
means the corporate dead, or the people that don't know that they are not persons, that they are true flesh-blood people. So if they're going around participating in this fraud, defending that death state and putting life to it, well, they're going to be joined to it, aren't they?
And Santos, exactly, that's the joinder. And here's the kicker. Didn't Jesus say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do? Isn't that ironic? Isn't it? And, getting back to Jesus, right? Like, I don't know if you did that call with Marty Leeds or not. Because I'm an electrician at heart, right? I'm always crunching numbers and playing with numbers and figures and angles and stuff. And if you take the numbers 0 through to 9, right? If you take those numbers, basically, when you take through the gematria, M, A, and N basically are the letters number 1, which through Marty Leeds' work states that Jesus was a man. So if 0 is the Son of God, or the sun in the sky, right, because without the sun we'd all die. So if 0 is the Son, which represents 3, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, well then 1 must represent Jesus. And if you take the numbers 0, 1 through 9, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, well, the next number beside 1 is 2. And if you put the numbers 1 and 2 together, what did you have? You had the 12 apostles of Christ. If you take 1 plus 2, that's 3. And 1 and 3, that's 13. And that's the 12 apostles of Christ, or the 12 constellations. And Jesus, so say Jesus Christ, which was number 1. Isn't that ironic, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's freaky or what?
Yep. So can you run that? Can you do that again? 1 and 2 is the 12, and then 1 and 3
is your 13, which would constitute your 12 apostles, and the 1 plus, which would constitute your 12 apostles or your 12 constellations. And you take Jesus with the 12, that makes 13. And what's 1 plus 2? 3. Tack the 1 and the 3 together, and you got 13. And they say that 13 is supposed to be an unlucky number. No, I think it's a very beautiful number.
Yeah. Oh, of course it is. Yeah, it rounds out the 12.
And, say like you take number 9, right? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you take 8 plus 1, that equals 9. If you take 7 plus 2, that equals 9. If you take 6 plus 3, that equals 9. And counting backwards again, 5 plus 4 equals 9. See how it just keeps going? And then you add those, and then too, you're back to 0s and 1s, which are your binary system. So basically, I think the Bible has been a pack of lies. There's truth amongst it, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of deception, but it's all based on numbers. Like MAN in gematria, they all equal 1. So if MAN being man, they say that Jesus was a man and he was number 1. to the 12 apostles, which equaled a crew of 13, you know? And everything comes back to the zeros and ones, which is either the Son of God, the Son, and man, you know? So that's some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah,
and then
it's all numbers.
That's it. And then, you know, you get into, like, Back to the Dead and all that stuff, and, you know, basically, like you had said before, like, everybody is just like, well, stardust, and that's why when kids are kids, they're called youngsters, young stars, and we're all electricity, you know, like Elohim, right? El of him, Eloah, right? El of her, and El means to be the elect, and we run around electing these government officials when technically we shouldn't be electing them because we think that we have the right to vote, but we're part of a minority government because the chief executive officer always owns 51% of the shares. So all these people who think they're going to vote for change, they'll get their change all right. They won't get any change back. They'll get exchange.
Yeah, and they always do, and they always fall for it, don't they? 4 years ago, they fell for Barack Obama, the new messiah. Oh, yes, going to close down Guantanamo Bay. He's going to bring the troops back home. He's going to decrease taxes and all of these things, and he's done exactly the opposite. And don't they all, and don't they always?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes me sick, and that's where, you know, that, like, even back to the Bible, like I said, there's lots of truth and lots of bullshit, but the Bible said, be stewards of the land, and the land is your body. The body is the land. You come, and where do you go when you're dead? You go back to ground, because we're electrical in nature. And then the Bible says, don't go out dealing in sin, and everybody applies for a sin, social insurance number. Or in the States, SS number. You know, SS Germany maybe? Oh, you bet your sweet ass. And then people are running out for it.
Yeah, good point, Mark. Let's stop at that word sin for a moment. Well, let's not stop there. Let's discuss the word sin because, because that is going to uncover a few frauds. You see, in their system, they've given us the word signature, and of course, when you sign something, you've got a silent G in the word sign, and when you remove that silent G from the word sign, you get sin. Now, this is not a coincidence. You know, I mean, probably one or two of the listeners will go, oh, yeah, well, that's just, sign, signature, that's just the way the English language works. This is how the tricksters have built the system. They've inbuilt it with these tricks, you see. You think the word means one thing, it means another. This is what legalese is all about. It's not English. It's not English. When you go to court, that is a very, very special language that they are using. They do not deal in English. And with that thought in mind, we'll go to a break, Mark, but I want you to elaborate with your thoughts on the word signature, please.
Sure. Absolutely, Sam.
Okay. Let's go. On to a break. Thank you.
Okay.
With Santos Bonazzi and special guest Mark Hollywood. Mark, please share your YouTube handle with folks before we go any further. I forgot to do that at the start.
Oh, absolutely. It's Hollywood, just like it sounds, HOLLYWOOD 6641. So all lowercase, Hollywood 6641.
Great, yeah, because then they've got a some resources and something to look. You've got some great videos there with a lot of fantastic instructions and information. It's just a wealth of information. So thanks for that, for doing that for folks. Mark, your thoughts on the on sign. You see, because they love for you to sign here, please. See the dotted line? Yeah. Could you? They want you to sign. Oh, they love that word, signing. Sign here, sign there, everywhere a sign.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, absolutely. Back to the Bible. The Bible said, don't go running around in sin. And everybody runs around and takes sign, takes the G out. So signature, SINATURE. URE stands for your. you're at sin. Sin at your, you say it backwards, you're at sin. And you know what's funny, Santos? Yeah, you remember when you took trigonometry in school because everything's electrical in nature, right? The elect, Lady L, the electron, right? Adam is in Adam and Eve, or Adam is in the atoms and part of the electrons, right? Well, when you take SOHCAHTOA, you take those three triangles, right? You have SOHCAHTOA, which is basically your sine divided by your opposite times your hypotenuse, but that's your sin. That's your sin wave, your sine wave. So you have So, which is your sin, you have Ka, and then you have TOA, or T divided by O times A, which is your tangent. So everybody's running around applying for sin, social insurance numbers or FS numbers in the States, and then they're running off on tangents. And back to everything being electrical, what's the cop doing when he's pulling you over? He's applying the voltage, which is the applied pressure, and he's drawing up a charge. And he's bringing that document, that dead corporate piece of paper, to life by charging it and certifying.
Ha! Wow. Wow. That's mind-boggling. So, Mark, do you think that once people return to the true jurisdiction, because there's got to be a remedy, there's got to be, they have to provide a remedy, right? Which basically lies in the awakening of the masses. Unless they awaken, there will not be a remedy. And
that's
can
right.
you talk to
and
that?
You know what, Santos? We are the remedy. People are going to court looking for the pursuit of happiness, right? And it's like you said earlier, everything, like all these words, don't mean what people think they mean. You're back to the alpha and the bet. So you put the two of them together, you bet that we have the alphabet or the alpha male who's going to steal your money and property in a court. Because everything's just like a game of cards. It's a game of Texas Hold'em. Whoever has the best suit, lawsuit, wears the best suit, is going to win. And we have to remove that from these people and say, no, I'm not even citing myself then as being a citizen on your ship. We have to come back to land where the Bible told us to be stewards of the land, which is our bodies, because we're electrical in nature. And instead, everybody wants to run out on a tangent applying for sin. And it blows my mind. Like so many people, they'll write me up and they'll go, well, I don't know what to do. And it's like, listen, it's simple. If you like cheeseburgers or cheesecake, you go see your notary. Listen, I like cheesecake, or I'm no longer a citizen anymore. And here, certify this. Take it down to the authentication officer or the business services official documents and appointments in Canada, which falls under the Justice and Attorney General Corporate Services Division, have it authenticated or apostilled, as they call it in the state, and be done. Put an ad in the paper for 21 days, and then nobody can come along and contest the fact that you like cheeseburgers or cheesecake or that you're not a citizen. And it's just that simple. And so many people, they don't even want to trust the very essence of their being, that they're so busy running around with their heads cut off like chickens, with their heads cut off, that they're looking for the answers outside themselves when in fact they are the answers.
They are the answer. Yeah.
That's right. You don't dare look to a court for remedies. The only remedy you'll find when you go to court is the fact that they'll give you a remedy, all right. They'll take your money and then say thanks, and then you'll say, well, I have rights. And they'll look at you and go, oh, are you a citizen? Yeah. Oh, well, you don't have rights. And that's basically a matter for the appeals court to judge. If you don't like my decision, that's what the judge will say. And, well, you know, whether I'm right or wrong in my decision, you can take that to appeals court. But then you need $6,000 just to walk through the gate at the court again to find out you're going to lose your $6,000. So anybody thinks that they're going to find remedy with these people, no, the remedy starts with us. We are the remedy. We were supposed to remain stewards of the land, and here we are running around signing for things, sinning for things, when all along, we should be stewards of the land. Like, I'll be honest with you, Santos, I think the majority of us are idiots. We go to work, and we'll go buy a house and a car and clothes, so that we go to work so that we can pay for the clothes, we can pay for the house, we can pay for the car, and meanwhile, we're paying for a house that we spend half our time at work, so we don't even see our house, and then we're running around buying groceries when we were told to remain stewards of the land, which meant to grow our own fruits and vegetables on the land.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I've been noticing and understanding fully. That when you go to the grid for all of your services, you're actually doing an injustice to yourself and the whole world, because you're supporting a corporate structure, even for food. You know, the way we have these big shopping outlets like Safeway and that are monopolizing all the food and everything like that, and we go to those places like their churches, and we get our food from these buildings. You know, we go into the buildings, and they've got these aisles, and they've got all the food stacked up there that they've they've stockpiled there, and we just go in there and we get our food there, and we rely on this grid. What happens when the grid goes? Who knows how to plant vegetables, and grow them? Not many people.
That's right, Santos. And that's exactly what these corporate dictatorships or potatorships are looking for. They're banking on the fact that we were told to be stewards of the land, and we said we don't want to do that. All these people, they're running around with, like, the 7 deadly sins. They're not honoring their 7 chakras, and that was something else, like the 7 days of creation in the Bible, the 7 deadly sins. They tell you to avoid anger and lust and envy and pride and sloth and greed and gluttony, and everybody's running around. Oh, if I don't get mine, somebody else will. And even me, Santos, like myself, I feel like I'm outnumbered by these idiots, because they want to support greed and gluttony and envy and, even these, like we've been doing these jobs. We've had more people try to screw us over when, in all essence, we're going in with love, doing the best possible jobs we can do for these people, and giving them nothing but love and respect. And at the end of the day, they're trying to shit on us because they're so greedy, they want to save their $2, and it's just disgusting. It makes me sick. And even the other day, like, somebody was saying to me, they were, oh, well, if you did this, and I don't know why you're not out being an electrician. And it's like, do I want to give the government $5 so they can go buy bullets? And I says, you call yourself a Catholic? I says, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm just so tired of all these self-righteous assholes, because they got pride. And, it's almost like the Buddhist monk. Somebody says, oh, well, I want to be happy. And he says, well, remove the I want to be. And he says, you have happiness. It's just that simple. But, people want to just, coagulate this system with more bullshit. And they think everything that they see on TV is true, and, like, television, and they better wake up. I don't know. They better wake up is all I can say.
Oh, yeah. It's time for the dead to rise, the resurrection of the dead.
That's it?
Yeah, no two ways about that, Mark. All right, look, I'm going to open up the lines. We're going to a break now. We're at the top of the hour. So when we come back, we'll take some calls. So you're welcome to call in, folks, please, and talk to Mark Hollywood. And soon, hopefully, we'll be joined by Kate of Gaia. So we'll leave it at that, and let's go to the break. Welcome to the second hour of the show. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Mark Hollywood. Mark, Mark, so we're talking about humanity waking up and taking ownership, responsibility for looking after the land and looking after their flesh, blood, organism as opposed to defending, let's call it, their legal entity, which is a dead fiction. So how do we get people, or how do people actually do this in their lives? Where do you start? Where do we start with helping people to get back their true freedom by opting out of the system, or perhaps finding remedy? What's the remedy, Mark?
Well, the thing is, in the system, Santos, there is no remedy. And look at the word REM. REM is in rapid eye movement. They die. So rapid eye movement, I die. I don't like remedy. I'm not into remedy. I'm into the law, and the laws of the jungle. Every man for himself, but in love, not in greed, not in lust, not in gluttony, pride and sloth and envy, and all that other stuff. And we, like, for example, I took over my life when one day I woke up and I didn't like what I was seeing, and it was like, do I want to vote for a conservative, a conservative? No. The first three letters. He's a con. Like voting for a congressman. A con. No, I'm tired of dealing with cons. I'm tired of applying for their stuff, being an applicant. Lie can't. So if you're an applicant, of course you can't lie. And I said, you know what? I just have to start taking responsibility for what my life is and what my life isn't. And the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms stated that every Canadian had the right to enter in, remain in, and leave Canada. So I had the right to become a Canadian citizen, and then I had the right to not be a Canadian citizen. So I said, I'm no longer a Canadian citizen. I left Canada. And I did. I had it certified at the Notary Public's office. I went down to the Apostle office, or the Authentications office, and they authenticated my documents, and then I even ran them through the Court of the Queen's Bench, because this cop I was suing him, then I had dropped it, and then his lawyers were fraudulently
transit, and they fell for Barack Obama, the new Messiah. Oh,
took over my life when one day I woke up and I didn't like what I was seeing, and it was like, do I want to vote for a conservative, a conservative? No. The first three letters. He's a con. Like voting for a congressman. A con. No, I'm tired of dealing with cons. I'm tired of applying for their stuff, being an applicant. Lie can't. So if you're an applicant, of course you can't lie. And I said, you know what? I just have to start taking responsibility for what my life is and what my life isn't. And the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms stated that every Canadian had the right to enter in, remain in, and leave Canada. So I had the right to become a Canadian citizen, and then I had the right to not be a Canadian citizen. So I said, I'm no longer a Canadian citizen. I left Canada. And I did. I had it certified at the Notary Public's office. I went down to the Apostle office, or the Authentications office, and they authenticated my documents, and then I even ran them through the Court of the Queen's Bench, because this cop I was suing him, then I had dropped it, and then his lawyers were fraudulent. They were lending to some fraud by trying to sue me after the fact, and I just told them, I said, listen, I'm not a slave on your ship. I'm like Jesus. You might have thought I was once dead, but here I am. I'm alive and well, thanks, and I don't fly by your rules of slavery. And it's been a tough pill. I mean, I could easily go out and be an electrician and be on their ship and make all kinds of stupid money, but I just can't help support them killing my neighbors overseas. And never mind killing the neighbors overseas, they don't even want to feed the neighbors who are hungry in our own backyards. And then they have the nerve to talk about how beautiful and how awesome Canada is. Look at the word Canadian. Can I die in? No thanks. Not into it. And I would say that was the remedy, Santos. That's simple. I just said, I'm not a Canadian, went to the notary, had it certificated, it became a certificated security, went to the Authentications office, sent out the respective notices, wound up in the federal into the Court of Queen's bench on the federal side of the court, and said, "Yeah, here you go, guys. I'm no longer a slave on your ship." Even the judge, he said, "Oh, well, you're going to owe money, da-da-da-da-da." And I looked at him and I says, "I won't owe you a cent." I says, "I am a private man," and I says, "I am not a slave on your ship." And I says, "I believe, sir, you've been paid." I gave him a security, which was the authentication, which is a bond, and that's why it has that ribbon and the wax seal on it, which means that it's money. I am entitled to the full faith and credit through Canada now because I went through the authentications office. That's what I told the judge. Listen, you've been paid. You have the full faith and credit of Canada. Why are you trying to bill me now? That would be fraud on his part. And they never sent me a bill. And in all actuality, Santos, if anything, the last few officers I've dealt with, they were very nice to me, and I was nice back.
Yep, for sure. Peaceful inhabitant.
That's right. But I did the route correctly by seeing my notaries, having them all securitized, those certificates, and having them all authenticated. Otherwise, all these people, like, they have to understand that if you go the same way you get into their system by applying for a birth certificate, back to that mighty word, certificate, back to a statement of live birth certificate, you must take a certificate, say, "Here's my certificate, noticing your certificate, that I'm no longer a slave on your ship, and the Charter of Rights and Freedom says so." And if anybody thinks that they're going to be the beneficiary to a dead corporate name, well, again, the Bible told you not to worship the dead, and if you don't get shot on one side, you'll get shot on the other because you're acting like a double agent. And I truly believe that's the only remedy. Like, there's lots of people out there, and I won't get into mentioning their names, and they're, "Oh, well, you can be a citizen, and just tell the cop that, oh, well, I'm not on duty that day." No, if you're producing a license, a driver's license, you might as well be saying, "I'm a slave on your ship, let me on." And of course, the cop's going to make the assumption as sue me, or the presumption, pre-sue me, that you're on the ship. Why else would you be giving him a license? And look at the words, LIECENTS, license. So if these people want to apply for their licenses and they want to be applicant, they can't lie, which makes no sense, but it'll make the courts and this fraudulent government all kinds of sense, will be my guess. But that's the only remedy.
It makes sense to them, doesn't it? Because they've been taught in the arts of deception. So basically, the system is, when you sign, you've signed up to the devil. It's right. The devil. Yeah. But the devil is telling you that he's God. You see, because these guys don't go around, saying, "Oh, we are truly evil. What we're doing." They're pouncing around, looking good. So they're obviously trying to look good and legitimate, and they've got the Bible in court and all of their legalese words, which sound really, really highfalutin and special, and they've got their oaths, and they've got their garb. They look pretty good. They've got these black, garments and these funny-looking wigs, so they look all authentic and everything like that, and we're here to protect justice, and, we're running an honourable ship, and so there's all this godliness about it, but really, it's the devil. But I'm not talking about God and the devil like the churches are talking about. It's a system, and God always stands for the good part of the system, or, what is good, what we consider to be good, and the devil stands for what is bad. So, but these people are actually doing the devil's part, you see. This is what their nature, their true nature really is. It's something quite devilish. Do evil.
And you know what, Santos? You take the D out of devil, and what do you have? Evil. And you're talking about the system, right? Never mind SYSTEM. CYSTEM is in the system, right? And what's a system? It's a plumbing system, for God's sake. And what flows through plumbing? Shit.
Yeah.
And people want to deal with this system when it's demonic, demon-IC, even God. They make God sound like it's a good thing. Well, God has no... I don't buy names, because if I spell God forwards and I spell it backwards, I get dog. And on the American dollar bill, they say, "In God we trust." So in dogs, they trust, and they call it justice. Just them, right? And people are running around going, "Well, it's an injustice." Well, no, it's an unjust them, because they're taking your money. And so like the whole thing, it's like people going to court and saying, "Well, I refuse that, Your Honor," and the judge will look at you and smile, because you've just said you've reattached yourself. If you refuse 2 pieces of metal, you've just refused them, haven't you? So people better wake up. They go to school to learn how to spell. They've been put in a spell. They learn how to spell words. They should be hooked on phonics instead of stuck on stupid. But then just to confuse matters, after they go to school to learn how to spell, they receive a lesson. So they go to school, they receive a lesson instead of a lesson, and they're put in a spell. And then to confuse matters more, these Catholic schools and these Protestants and these Anglicans, these Anglicans, they'll give you a Bible, a ghost spell to confuse you more. And look at the word, confused. You've been fused by a con. And then you go to court and say, "Well, I refuse that." And then the judge will say, "Good, I got a con. You're reattaching yourself." And then the judge will look at you and smile, and he'll say, "Are you contesting this?" And you'll say, "Yeah." And he'll go, "Good, now I know I got a con in my court." And he's a friggin' priest at death. He wears a black robe, sick bastard.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Absolutely.
So, refuse and contest. There you go. Look at those 2 words. You go in there creating controversy by refusing and contesting. And refusing means to fuse you two, and contesting, basically means the same thing, doesn't it? And
absolutely.
And look at that.
That's why the Bible says, the parables? Are you parable? Are you able to speak at par? And these people go into court being adversarial, adding verse RIL, and they're going, "Oh, yeah, we have a defendant here. Are you the defendant? Oh, good, you're an ant. Okay, good, you must be here to contest this and refuse this. Good, you're a sucker. You're a sucker with a capital S. And only a sucker would worship the dead, because we were told not to worship the dead. And then we run around claiming that we're dead, And
it's another way of putting it is it's idolatry. The name is an idol.
That's right. We don't need names. My dog calls me woof, my bird calls me tweet, and my cat calls me meow.
Yeah.
We all smile in the same language. We don't need the same land gauge. We don't need words. It's like these people. They're they call it the world atlas. At a T, it's their world at last. Like, people better wake up. And then we live in the atmosphere, atmosphere. And then we live on a planet. Maybe we're part of the net plan. And what do you receive at the end of the week when you go to work? A net pay. Whoa. People better give their heads a shake, because what they think isn't. And I have a simple philosophy. I spell things forwards like God. If I spell it backwards and it equals dog, and then I see "in God we trust" or "in dog we trust," that tells me right there, well, better lose the name. My spirit, my spy right is the creator. CR, 8-4, right? Even the word divine, die and vine, that just don't sound good. Do I want to be divine, divine? No. I want to be happy, for God's sakes. At least happy, if I spell it backwards, it still, sounds weird, but it doesn't sound like you say live, well, you got evil backwards. You say God, you got dog backwards. Do I want to worship a dog? No. Do I want to worship a God? No. I lose the name and I worship the Creator. And even the word worship, oh my God. And then everybody's running the church and they're worshiping. You want to worship at a church? Oh my God. And especially, like you say, here's these tax collectors collecting at church. And meanwhile, here was Jesus, whether he was around or not, supposedly flipping over these money changer tables. And people are so stupid that they want to go to church and they want to pay tax to a priest in a black robe, a priest of death. Not even a priest of life. It's I don't know. It's just it's sick.
It is. It's a sick joke. It's a sick joke, and hopefully, folks are waking up to this. How the system works. They're operating a slick machine, which is there for the purpose of stealing your wealth and energy. Simple as that. They're harvesting the energy and the resources of the masses and channeling them to the few. Just like George Carlin said on the break, you know, he says there's no chance for remedy. It's all rigged. He says everything, the whole lot of it, is rigged and stacked in their favour. Yeah, what a way to steal the true wealth and resources from the masses and give them to the elite few. Very interesting.
That's right. And you know, Santos, everybody's running around, all these citizens, all these cited as Zens, slaves on these ships, they all want limited liability, the ability to lie. They want limited liability. I have unlimited liability because I'm not paying some, you know, like I'm not paying for, like, say, this insurance or that insurance. And all these people, too, they're going to see brokers at brokerages. Well, you look at the word broker. You think if you broke, have to deal with this money? These people, because they're taking your money. And everybody wants limited liability when we were told not to.
Yeah. Let's go to a break, Mark, and we'll be back after the break. Special guest, Mark Hollywood. So, Mark, what about people who are not prepared to go down the line of getting off the ship, want to stay on the ship, and perhaps have to get herded into court? Any advice?
Absolutely, Santos. They fall under the laws of contract, and I suggest they honor those contracts, even if the courts are wrong and the cop says that you're doing 60 in a 50 zone. If you weren't, pay your ticket. Otherwise, you're just going to make matters worse. You're going to get labeled. You're going to get labeled as a slave / a free man, and you'll be negated, and these people will just take your money. And if you don't pay, well, then they'll throw you in the debtor's prison.
Okay, no other remedy?
No other remedy, Santos. The thing with me, Santos, is, like, I see all these people. I tried everything, right? Like, I was a citizen, and I tried fighting the courts, and the court won. Then I took on the courts not being a citizen. I won. You know what I mean? Because then I am the creditor over the, I'm the principal over the agent, right? Because I'm not a slave on their ship. So they can't say, well, you're a debtor / agent / trustee on the ship. So, and I think the biggest thing I want to say, Santos, is all these gurus or people who claim to be gurus online, unless you people out there, you good people, see certificated, authenticated proofs of claim from these people, they're talking shit. And I mean absolute shit. Because you need, unfortunately, even though you got to use their system to get out by saying, I'm not a Canadian, use their notary public, use their authentications office, the same way you got into the system is the same way you have to get out. Otherwise, if you have contractual obligations, like you're married to a wife, well, you know, don't be running around whoring and cheating on her or doing 60 in a 50 zone. You have to honor those contracts, or you'll, you know, she's entitled to half of what you own. It's just that simple, people. And like I say, Santos, all these, to all your good listeners, all these people who, oh, well, I was listening to this guy and I was listening to that guy. Well, you ask these people for certificated proofs of claim, like court wins or anything for that matter. Oh, you're a sovereign? Well, I want to see certificated proof. If they don't have it, they're full of shit.
Yep. Beautiful. So, so getting off the ship is the true path to remedy.
That's right.
Do you think that for most of the average folks out there that don't know too much about law and all the process that you've taken, do you think that there's a simple 1, 2, 3 steps that they can do to actually get off the ship? Is it simple or is it very complicated? It appears to be slightly complicated.
I'll word it like this, Santos. The truth is simple, and the truth requires few words. I'm not a citizen on your ship, right? Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedom says every Canadian has the right to enter in, remain in, or leave Canada. I said I left Canada. I said I no longer have any contractual obligations or agreements with you people, and I'm not a Canadian. I went and saw my notary. He certified it, went to the authentications office, had it authenticated or apostilled, whatever you want to call it, and that was that. And that's how simple it is. Why do I want to get caught up in, oh, well, what's this bylaw say? Well, what's the Police Services Act say? Well, what does the Civil Act say? I couldn't care less. Somebody wants to take me to court, I say, listen, you know who you're dealing with? By the way, it's my name, Mark Simser. It's a common law autograph trademark name. You use my name again, and this is a fair warning. It's a notice, no type, no enticement at all. So that's about it. People just have to keep it simple. No, I'm not a slave on your ship. I'm not a Canadian. Notary public. Yeah, okay. Authentications office. That's it. That's all. Anybody pulls me over, I pull out an authentication, or I simply tell them who I am. And, go on to Hollywood 6641 YouTube or go into my Forerunner site, and they'll soon find out that, whoa, do we want to deal with this guy because he has a limited liability? I can lie till the cows come home because I'm not a Canadian.
Yeah, wonderful. Of course, you've got the protected measure of belonging to the Squamish Nation. Is that also something that you would recommend, that people align themselves with a true sovereign nation?
Absolutely, because otherwise you're flying with the devil.
Yeah,
and
of course, Irene was with us a month ago, and that was fantastic to have all that she shared with us about the Squamish Nation. Is there any way for folks to join that nation, Mark? Is there, and if so, how?
Absolutely, Santos. I'm just going to pull it up here. I've got it somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't have the exact. I'm just looking here.
Where was the question? Not how. So where can they go, and websites, etc.?
Yeah, I'm just looking here, Santos. I've had it down. Okay, they can go to, if they Google Squamish government.
Yep.
So if they Google the sovereign Squamish government, just like it sounds, or they can go to sovcom.net to check us out as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I just had a side thought here, Mark. Do you know the work of Kevin Annett?
I'm not too familiar with them. I know what's going on, and I know that lots of natives' rights have been violated and stuff, and they found dead bones to lots of children who were abused and whatnot. I'll leave it at that. But that's probably about the most I know, Santos.
Yeah. Well, look, I saw a 6 or 7 minute video yesterday where Kevin Annett spoke, and what they're doing is they are looking to shut down the operations of the Catholic Church. Put it that way. Now I've got a link for people that are interested in this story. All you need to do is perhaps Skype me at Santos Bonacci, or email me, and I'll share the link with you. A sovereign here, or I should say, what do we what do we want to call ourselves? Sovereign's not really the word, is it?
Men on the land, nationals, men on the land.
Yeah.
Don't even use the word free men, because we don't work for free.
Yeah. Look. This is the link. I'll share it with folks now. It's called. You can go to the internet. It's called itccs.org. So itccs.org, and then of course I think you've got to put in some other information. I would be looking for Catholic Church faces disruption and banishment as Irish Cardinal set to resign. Now, I just want to share this because this is pretty big news, right? There are 5 nations in Europe that have given the Catholic Church till September the 15th, 2012. And this is what they're asking. The Roman Catholic Church faces permanent disruption and banishment in at least 5 countries if it does not comply with 10 non-negotiable measures by September 15th, 2012, according to a global coalition of survivors of church rape and torture. The list of measures was issued today at a meeting in Dublin, Ireland, where Archbishop Dermot Martin and representatives of anti-Catholic Church activists worldwide and the Magdalene Laundry survivors and the International Tribunal to Crimes of Church and State, Ireland. So Kevin Annett is, he's the, I think he's the president or something of this secretary. There you go. And he's denounced, it's a 7-minute video, and they've announced that the Catholic Church must denounce all known pedophiles and defrocked, otherwise they will cease to operate. And they might be on, if they don't mind, they're at the station.